Hello all, good morning. This is Hans speaking from Project Lights Out, and welcome to the second live stream show in English, and it's again with Sylvain Henry and a lot of good friends here, and we have a very important topic which we have to talk. We have to talk because many people still don't know what is happening, and it's the chemtrails.
Good morning, Hans, and good morning, everybody. My introduction will be very short because in this show I'll be playing a background role, getting a lot of people. More than 100 people are in the chat room right now. Many of them want to speak about chemtrails, against chemtrails and geoengineering. And so I'll be coordinating in the background. But at the end, I also have an important message if people are still listening to us by then. So go ahead, Hans.
Okay. Good morning, Sarah. Ladies first.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. It's afternoon here. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon in England. So.
Okay,
yeah,
you're from England.
Good morning to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, from England. Yeah, I live on the east coast of England in a county called Lincolnshire, and we get real heavy chemtrailing most days. Today, actually, it's the first day we are not being chemtrailed since the 7th of January. There was no chemtrails at all between the 24th of December and the 7th of January. They just weren't any. And then from the 7th of January onwards, we've been heavily chemtrailed daily until today, where there are none. So, interestingly, I don't know why that is, but that's what's happening.
Oh my God! Yeah, I have seen a lot of videos on YouTube, and it seems really that they hate England, and I mean the skies are full of those chemtrails, and I don't know why the people still think this is normal. I mean, just watching this, I think we are in a war zone there. You know, Mexico City, it's one of the biggest cities in the world, and we don't have those chemtrails. So I wonder, why is it in your country? I don't know. Do you have any idea why they're spraying you more than maybe other places?
Well, we live in a very agricultural area, and I think it's interesting that we get heavily chemtrailed over Lincolnshire, which is basically where most of the crops are grown. So I think that has massively something to do with it. And what will happen is, you know, we'll have a frosty night, and 8 o'clock in the morning it's completely clear, and then by 10 o'clock in the morning they've basically covered the sky. That's what's happening. And so by 2 o'clock in the afternoon it's more or less gone dark again through the heavy spraying that's happening. Something else that's happening is that a lot of the trees around our area are dying. There's a massive amount of tree death going on, and that's not happening straight away, if you can imagine. It's happening gradually over time, that they're succumbing to a lot of diseases, fungus, etc., because of the weakening from the aluminium and the particulates like barium, etc.
Yeah.
And people that have tested the rainwater in this area are finding highly elevated amounts of things like aluminium, barium, strontium, even blood, viruses, all sorts of things that should not be in the rainwater. So it's and I think it's very telling that there was no chemtrailing over Christmas. Yet through the Christmas holidays there's still the same amount of commercial flights going on. So I think it's very strange that they didn't exist over Christmas, the Christmas holidays, which I think is very telling that it's more to do with the industrial military complex than anything to do with sort of civil aviation.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Yeah. Okay, let's find out if someone else knows it, why they're doing it, and what is the purpose of it. I see here other guests there already on Skype. Let's say hello to Billy. Billy Hayes, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, my friend. Nice
well,
to
good
see
morning,
you.
Hans.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, okay, there's also Stone Lee. Just let's say hello to Stone Lee. Hello.
Hello, kids.
Yeah. Great to see you here. So, okay, I don't know who from you, I mean, I think Billy Hayes knows a lot about chemtrails, so also of HAARP and everything. So, yeah, tell us what's going on. What do you think, or what do you know about it?
I don't know. I kind of hardly hear you. I have no text here to write to you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now, everybody's making all these noise about snow being part of the chemtrailing. You want to talk about HAARP? You want to talk about snow? What do we want to talk about?
Okay, great that you mentioned the snow thing, because I have seen a lot of videos last days. The people are making experiments with burning snow, you know, with a flame, and it turns black, and they're smelling. They say it smells like plastic and everything. I mean, we have to be very careful with this, because maybe it's not that alarming. Maybe it's just a physical reaction. I don't know. I mean, Mexico, we don't have that snow because it's too hot here. So I couldn't do it with normal snow, just with the ice in the freezer. But I mean, it really turns kind of black, and it smells, you know, when you do it with a candle, for example, candlelight. But okay, what's about this? Many people are asking, is it dangerous now? Is it normal? What do you think?
Well, at this moment, I have to go on the debunk side, come to the snow.
Yep.
You can take any lighter, hold it up to your ceiling, turn it on, and the soot will blacken the ceiling.
Exactly.
This is what people are seeing. They're seeing this snow get sooted. Once the soot builds up on that snow, number one, it provides an insulator so it won't melt as fast. Secondly, there is only, when you melt snow down, its density, once it melts down, is 1/100th of what it consumed in volume.
Yep.
When it was snow. When it snow turns into liquid, it is 1/100th of the dense volume of what it was as snow.
Yeah.
As the snow melts, instead of dripping off, it absorbs into the snow. So people are getting this. They have to understand it's nothing to get excited about. It's always been there. It's always been like that, and it's not part of the chemtrailing. This is not to say there's not particles from chemtrails in the snow.
Okay.
That has to be proved, and I can't disprove it.
Okay.
I will say that the alternative to it is chemtrails do exist, and they are full of particles. But once again, when you look at the air's density as air is so much bigger in volume than water or liquid. So when you're talking about these particles in your air, instead of talking about 1 per thousandth, instead of talking about 1 per millionth, when you're talking about the particles that are being absorbed into the air, you're talking about 1 per billionth of these particles, these nanoparticles. So it's almost negligible what we're able to see. That doesn't mean that the particles can't be used for tooling of other instruments of scientific fact or scientific experiments. The chemtrails are up there. They're being used for something. They're being experimented with. But in my books, the experiments are over, and now they're out to use these experiments as tools.
Okay, tools.
Right.
What? I mean, I see them in the sky sometimes too. But what do you think? What they're doing? Why they're spraying? Because I mean, when you see Mexico, we have thousands of planes landing and starting every day. So I mean, but you don't see all the planes with chemtrails. There's just certain planes you see. So this shows me it's not normal that every plane have a contrail, because many people say it's not a chemtrail, it's a normal contrail, but if it would be a contrail, every plane would have it, and they don't have it. It's just certain planes in certain times or whatever, and they're most of them, they're unmarked. When you look at them with telescope or whatever, you don't see. Exactly. So what's up with this? I mean, what they're experimenting, or are they actually doing bad stuff? Because I had once Russ there, and he said that they are also spraying certain chemicals which causes fear in the people, or that they don't want to go out. Like I forgot the name of that chemical. I don't know if it's magnesium or I don't know what it was, but
aluminum oxide, barium, strontium. Okay. Those are the most infamous that are prevail within the chemtrails.
Okay.
Or chemclouds. I don't even like to say chemtrails because that's a slang word. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Once you say chemtrails, you discern the whole conversation to most people. They just throw their hands up and say, "Here we go."
Yeah.
Actually, it's aerosol spraying. Okay?
Oh.
It's aerosol spraying. They're spraying it with an aerosol.
Mm-hmm.
And this aerosol used to be dispersed by nozzles on wings and nozzle on the airfoils around the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 8 years, they have demised utilizing that factor because number one, they were having to use specialized aircraft. Number two, they couldn't schedule all these aircraft in the proper manners. Now they use fuel additives that can do the same thing. It goes through the engine and comes out as particles. These and they introduce this into the fuel as an additive, which number one gives the plane better performance. Mm-hmm. Number two, acts as an extra lubricant within the jet aluminum, mm-hmm. the aluminum in the jets and the titanium blades. It causes less wear. This is caused by, I keep on winking in and out. This is caused by the lubricants containing components of aluminum oxide, of mylar particles, nanomylar particles, which adhere and give protective coating to the blades on turbines without injuring them. This additive also acts as a fire retardant, mm-hmm. which when an aircraft crashes, this stuff will turn the fuel into a solidified gel. Instead of dispersing it all through the aircraft and all over the aircraft, it turns into a gel that compacts upon impact. Mm-hmm. All these little gizmos are selling points to introduce these chemicals into the fuel. They only run that sort of additive in the center tank of these airlines. Mm-hmm. These are computerized to launch and select separate tanks to maintain weight and balance of the aircraft. When a jet flies, they use a little from this tank, they use a little from that tank, and then they use it from the center tank, trying to maintain a balance of that aircraft. Okay. This is computerized to do so on airlines and stuff. It isn't just a matter of manual selection. It's computerized. It's timed. It's done by the aircraft through its computer systems and through data interlinks back to the ground. Otherwise, it's controlled. Therefore, you're not going to see this happening all the time. Mm-hmm. This is whenever this computerized system selects that engine or that plane to run on that specific fuel, then it runs on that specific fuel. These things, these fuel switches are at the nozzle input of each engine. It doesn't go straight to the tank and then to the switch. The switch goes into each engine, so it has a select of each tank. Therefore, when they switch this off and on, it's almost instantaneous. They can make it look like a sputtering cloud up there. It also gives a designation of a spiral when it's on and off and on and off. When they're switching back and forth, it can make spiral clouds behind it, giving it a very odd look. This is also what's done on some of the new faster than sound projects, the Mach 5 projects and above. It's a pulsed engine. This is worldwide. This is not just one country.
Exactly.
Even China has their own aerosol dispensing system. It's a matter that each one utilizes the other's capabilities. Keep in mind, in the United States, there were contractors spraying this prior to May 18th. As of May 18th, companies such as Evergreen dropped their contracts because there was the excuse was there was no money. The government had no more money to finance the chemtrailing. That is just a falsification. It just shut the door because they were getting caught. The people who were doing it were caught. It was seeable. And that's since May 18th into November, chemtrails almost ceased completely. Almost completely. As of November, mid-November, they started up trailing again all over the world. Only now they're using different recipes. There are over 15 different recipes that are used in combination to get the tunings they wish for what they're doing. I can recognize only 2 of them, and that's the ones that are being utilized with the wind farms and the new electronic systems that are being utilized in parallel with the use of wind farms. You will know that in the UK, they put up a brand new wind farm system just off the coastline. It's the biggest wind farm in the world. It's over water. And ever since they put it up there, the low compression behind these wind farms, you can actually see when it goes into a low depression of the air coming in, it makes a low content behind each one of these wind mills.
Bill, can I just come in there? Can I just come in there and say that I live right by on the coast, right by where that large wind farm is, and it backs up what you're saying, that they do start chemtrailing very early in the morning, and it is altering weather patterns. Yep. So I just thought I'd back you up. I'll switch my microphone off again, but I just thought I'd back you up on that. And I'm right on the Lincolnshire coast by where this massive off-sea wind farm is, and they're putting wind farms on the coast and off the coast all the way through Lincolnshire and Yorkshire and Norfolk.
Well, so these enormous wind farms develop. What's happening at these wind farms is that as the wind comes into these wind farms, each windmill devises a depression behind it of air that is a spiraling vortex, a rolling spiraling vortex. As it hits, all these wind farms line up in rows where one vortex is feeding into the next windmill, and then the next one feeds into that one, and then that one. They're stacked. The UK has the only system where they can reverse the propellers to turn in opposite directions. So you've got one row turning one direction and another row turning another direction. This creates opposite vortexes right next to each other. As these move together, it compiles these vortexes to rise up, carrying all the nanoparticles that are in the so-called aerosol sprayed atmosphere, it rolls us up into the upper atmosphere. As these particles move, they're the metallic, even though there's very few of them, they make an electrical conduit. And this can make up electrical energy just like an alternator. So you have this massive airborne generator up there charging the atmosphere above it. Not only do you have the alternating component of these wind farms, but as the propellers are made of fiberglass, as they churn through the air, they pick up a static discharge. When the blade passes the support member that the generators are sitting on, when that propeller comes down and goes through the bottom, it discharges the two propellers that are airborne. So on each churn, you get a static DC pulse that comes off from each windmill. People have taken note that as of the last 4 years, all wind farms churn in sync together. They all churn in sync together. And they can offset that just a little bit on each one. So one discharges, the next one discharges.
Yeah, I think we have an audio problem here. Okay, I don't hear you right now, but meanwhile you fix that. Let's see if... Okay. There's some problem here. Okay.
Oh, Hans, while you wait, can you introduce Frankie while you wait? Because
Exactly.
I think he has a meeting.
Exactly. Hi, Frankie.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. Okay. No, you're very welcome. I just added you here. So okay. Tell the whole world who you are and what do you know about whatever. Okay.
Sure. I'm Frankie Gotz from the Canadian Awareness Network. I'm from Canada, live in Hamilton, Ontario. You know, truth activist, alternative media. You know, I do some hip-hop songs. Anything that I can use my creative skills to help raise awareness on important issues, I partake in. And the crew I work with, I work for CanadianAwareness.org. And we cover many issues, from geoengineering to police state, you know, we cover it all.
Okay.
Exactly. To say that all chemtrails are contrails is absurd. You know, in grade 9 science, they teach you how clouds form. And, you know, they form from the natural process of evaporation, and it collects condensation, nuclei, and a bunch of other factors play a role, like, you know, temperature and all that. But basically, you can't put moisture into the atmosphere and expect it to stay in cloud formation without condensation nuclei. I mean, even if you take a look at the geoengineering experiments that the government does admit to, such as cloud seeding, well, they seed the clouds with silver iodine, which is an artificial condensation nuclei. So to say that these trails that go from one side of the sky to the other, that stay intact and then they spread and then, you know, cover the sky with artificial clouds, I think it's absurd to say that it's just condensation.
Exactly. I mean, also what I have seen, and many people for sure too, that now in movies and commercials, and even in computer games, they are putting those chemtrails, you know. I mean, this is something like, I mean, I'm working, I'm an actor myself, and I know how the directors work. They want a perfect picture, you know, and it's not logical that they put, instead of a nice blue sky with some fluffy clouds, that they put the fucking lines there. I mean,
yeah, that's very true. I wrote an article about that in the summer, showing some pictures, and you know, I've seen them myself in different video games. You know, there's the skateboarding game they play. There's chemtrails in the background. Also in cartoons, in children cartoon movies, they put them in the background. It's done to condition the child's mind to not question it. It's all normal, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's sad to see, you know, but the most important thing that we have to do is continue communicating with everybody, try to hand them information and try to explain it to them. I know not everybody's going to listen, but so be it. But, you know, things that I think people really, really need to do is research. They got to do their own research. Like, for instance, you know, we got the documentaries, what in the world are they spraying, why in the world are they spraying. I mean, just because they made a documentary, that shouldn't discourage everybody to start making documentaries and doing their own rain tests and snow tests and you know, trying to really figure out what's going on. Because it hits people harder when it's at home. You know, you could be like, hey, they tested the rain out in California. Like, say I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, okay? I go to somebody down the street from me and be like, hey, they tested the rain out in California and they're getting high spikes of, you know, certain elements and stuff. Oh yeah, whatever, that's in California. But if you do it in your hometown and you try to show people, then it would hit them harder. So I think more people need to take the initiative of actually testing the rain, and trying to get that information out there. Like for me, I tested the snow here. I believe the results were inconclusive. There was no high spikes of anything, but I'm going to be testing the rain all spring and summer. So hopefully I can find some evidence for myself and to present to others.
Kim, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to meet you and very welcome here on that live stream. So yeah. Oh, I think Max Bliss is also over there. Okay, ladies first, tell us about you. Who are you? I mean, I know, but the world has to know too.
Well, my name is Kimberly Moore. I'm a resident in Northern California, very close to the Redding area. I'm a Cherokee from the Oklahoma area in the United States, and I'm very interested in protecting our water and our air and our soil, and making sure that our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will have a healthy future on this planet. I think, Hans, that it's real common that the fruits of the labor that we see now were the labor that was done 50 or 75 years ago. So I encourage the people working on this issue to stick with it, that even if we don't get to see it in our time, our children and their children will get to see it in their time. They will get the fruit of our labor now.
Amen. I got a saying, actually. We sow today the seed, the shade of a tree we'll never see. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I can maybe touch on that. Now, I think it was Dutch Saint Michael Janich that first talked about it, and it was after Fukushima. And it was that barium and strontium spraying could be used to neutralize or change cesium-134 or whatever that was in the air. And so, is it possible that that's what they're doing? They're combating the radiation in the air somehow with this stuff, and it helps to reduce the effects of it. So we're poisoning ourselves with aluminum and barium and strontium or whatever. I think what it was barium and strontium could turn one cesium-134 into aluminum. I think that's what it was. Now, I don't know for sure. You know anything about that, Billy?
I'm not sure. I'm back in the room. Can you hear me?
Yep. Loud and clearly.
Okay. I got a blue computer over here out of the last conversation we had, so I had to switch up to a laptop. I didn't get on the full discussion here. I've been trying to get this other one up, but here we go again. Get me losing. The trails themselves. maintain operating as 15 different toolings. And of those toolings, there is a multiple of conversions that they can come up with by interchanging combinations. 15 times 15 times 15, there's so many combinations they can come up. It's almost infinite. So, here we go. I lost, my computer went down again. I'm losing it here, people. But,
I still hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still hear you. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. These combinations are what I was trying to explain earlier was how these they work with other tools. As we all know, HAARP no longer exists as Gacoma HAARP. Mm-hmm. It's all the other affiliated stations that are now manipulating these other combinations.
Yeah, such as NexRad. NexRad stations is HAARP technology.
That's right. SATCOM, NATROD, NexSat. It's endless. They go on and on and on. But all these, I worked on over 250 different sites that were all affiliated with HAARP. And this is prior to it being called HAARP. You understand? Mm-hmm. Even the NASA stations, receiving stations, are now part of HAARP. Even the dual-phase weather radar is a new part of the new HAARP. It is no longer a matter of quantity of power, but it is a digital system that they work with now. And this is what they've been working on from the beginning. It's digitizing the whole communication system. Everything we do, everything we say that is involved in electronics now is digitized. And every digital component is able to file application to communicate with another tool. For instance, cellular phone systems are able to file application with your TV. You can file an application to use your cell phone to be the controller of your TV, and vice versa. Information can come in through your TV to file applications through that TV to maintain data compromise to your cell phone. This is also goes with smart meters. It's a matter of a communication link communicating every source of communication in this world through one process of digitalization. Stand by.
Okay. I got a message here of Sylvain Henry. He says, Billy, please tell him about your work on HAARP towers. I don't know if you can read also the messages here. I will ask you the same, because I don't have any other friends who are working actually on HAARP, and I think you know about this a lot. So what's about HAARP?
HAARP was the experiment, and it went from an experiment of tooling of tomography, which was trying to see what was within the Earth. That was with Atlantic Richfield Oil Company. That was the first testing of the electronic HAARP. There was a HAARP before that. It was spelled H.A.A.R.P. It also was involved into some of the processes of the new HAARP, and that was to elasticize the magnetosphere, to stretch portions of the magnetosphere through, at that time, H.A.A.R.P. was trying to load an atomic bomb into the upper atmosphere, where when it was detonated, it would wink or ring the magnetosphere. This was the beginning. From that came Atlantic Richfield, who wanted to do experimentations in tomography, which they set up in Alaska, which was where they wanted to do the research to find natural resources. Things went awry with Atlantic Richfield. They got more information than they wanted, and within days, the military stepped in. The United States Air Force and the United States Navy took in and took over the whole project. And that's when I began. The first project I installed that was called HAARP was the Couldn. And I was responsible for setting up the antenna system, putting them in, and linking them into the transmitter. From there, everything was modification all over the world to affiliate themselves to conduct experiments with, through, and for HAARP. Some of these stations received signals. Some of these stations were able to manipulate certain frequencies to affiliate themselves with the HAARP frequencies. People don't understand. HAARP wasn't a matter of frequency. HAARP was a matter of a pulse on certain frequencies. These pulses were only microseconds wide, which accounts for the sound you hear from woodpecker. The same result. It was a burp, 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 3 times per second, or around 3 times per second. That pulse was at frequencies that in CERN.
Okay. I got more messages here. Okay. One, I don't know if you can read it on the chat box here on Skype. What happened to your other friends who were working in that HAARP project? What happened to the workers? Why they don't speak up? Are they still alive? Are they now with the new one, with the new system of HAARP? Or what do you know about your friends?
Turning the audio down a little bit in the background. It's distorting everything. Out of more than 200 of my crew, or crews, I should say, there are only 3 of us left.
What?
I should say, that's right. There was only 3 of us left as of May 28th. Another one of the crew died, which was my wife. She just suddenly died for no reason at all. The death certificate said that it was due to heart failure. She had been to the doctor 4 days prior to that, and she was a healthy woman. She was out cleaning up after this area. The Moore tornado incident also hit here in Kansas. And she was out helping clean up the community. When she suddenly took feeling vibrations all over her body, she broke out with a rash and asked to be taken to the hospital. When she made 18 steps into the hospital, she collapsed and was declared dead.
This is an assassination. This is not a natural death for me. This is... Fuck.
Our whole family has been attacked this year, critically. I lost my sister the week following my wife's death. My sister suddenly took ill. She worked at refinement of uranium in Georgia. She was saying things, and all of a sudden, a couple of days later, she was dead. 5 weeks later, my baby brother, that was my baby sister, my baby brother, who worked at an atomic reactor plant in Burlington, Kansas, called Wolf Creek, where he was a security guard, had some information that he wanted to pass on to me, and within that week, he no longer was with us. Leaving his funeral, my older sister, I'm the oldest of the family, my older sister was run over by a semi-truck returning home from the field. Hit, run, and she was gone. My crew members have all died of similar situations. None of them actually had a confirmed natural death.
Oh my God!
Now he's, of course, I'm the younger of all these people. And I'm an old man. Take my word, I'm an old man. And the other guy, and Herman, is a vegetable. He's laying in a home, and he can't even speak.
Mm-hmm. You know, it sounds for me like a kind of mafia. Once you join the mafia, you cannot leave them, and the only way to leave the mafia is leaving it dead, because you know too much about the secrets and whatever, you know. So, fuck.
You don't understand that my family works with and for the company. Mm-hmm. I say the company. Mm-hmm. I started out working as a cleaner at Eglin Air Force Base, cleaning up electronic messes. When they make a mess, it was our job to go in and make here. That started when I was 12 years old. Okay. I received special training. I didn't go to normal schools, and as a matter of fact, when I finally graduated from high school, I graduated from 2 high schools and a training school, all at the same time. My life was never like your life. I did not live a life of a civilian. I lived as a military person. We were confined to Eglin Air Force Base and the jobs we were sent out on. I was not relieved of that duty until I became a member of the armed forces, at which I became specialized in fields that weren't normal, such as electronic countermeasures.
I feel so sorry for you, my friend. I feel. Do you fear that something could happen to you, or how is your how do you see your own future? Because I mean, you're far away from Mexico, wherever. I mean, I could take care of all those friends. We have to be together to take care of each other, I think so, because if you're separated, I don't know. I mean, I got hit one day in Mexico when I was posting too much serious stuff about the politics here in Mexico, and they give me a warning. They hit me on my head, but I don't know.
Well, I never was able to get away from the company until my past wife turned me to the city. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. I was involved in devising electronic surveillances that were used at Ruby Ridge, at Waco, Texas, in Oklahoma City, and I was forced into a situation during 9/11, or just prior to 9/11.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about 9/11?
I was responsible for putting the antenna, revamping the antenna that was on top of the towers 6 weeks prior to the incident. My cousin, Tim Hayes, was the helicopter pilot that flew the helicopter over top the buildings when they collapsed. Tim Hayes cannot be found. He disappeared. His wife hasn't seen him. She received checks from the city of New York City PD. But Timothy Hayes no longer can be found. Understand, this was a family that has been manipulated by specialized training throughout our lives. we did not know what it was to be a real civilian. That's my direct family. My cousins and stuff like that, that was different. Just like Timothy Hayes. He was a cop, but you know he was being used. My father was part of the first project, H.A.A.R.P, with a gentleman by the name of Bull. Mr. Bull, who ran all the experiments for the first H.A.R.P, it's the same Bull that was brought into Iraq to build the super gun for Saddam Hussein. And was shot in the head 6 times in front of his apartment in Iraq by Israelis. And then the gun, the super gun that he was working on, was dismantled. Wonder about my survival. I am just barely surviving.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that I work on all these HAARP transmitters all throughout the world. I received RF burns all over my body and in my body. These RF burns backfilled with scar tissue. And this scar tissue has and cysts and tumors are resistant to the HAARP frequencies that I work with, which includes UHF frequencies. These frequencies, when they were coming up, when glaucoma HAARP was active, I would go into seizures. Some of them were strong enough that they stopped my heart. I had over 4 heart attacks in 1 year. I had a total of 14 heart attacks over a 5-year period. During last year, I had 282 seizures. That is not the type of life a human lives. This is to say that there are capabilities within these electronics that can do the same to other humans. We're into changing frequencies, of frequencies that are in the terahertz, above the terahertz, which means the wavelength is smaller than a grain of sand.
Billy, where are you now? You're still in the States or Canada? I don't even know where you are. Don't say your street name and anything, but just more or less.
I'm right in the middle of the United States, dead center. I live in the bullseye of the United States. I use my name because there's no way to get away.
Yeah.
You understand? If you hide, you're just making yourself a better target. I use my real name. I use a real location of saying I'm in the center of Kansas on top of the biggest pile of cow manure there is.
Yeah. I got some messages here on the Skype of Kim Moore. Maybe you wanna ask him in person, so it's easier and faster. Kim, what do you want to ask him?
Sure. These were some great questions that a spiritual mentor asked me this morning when I was preparing for this conversation, and I just want to give him credit for. I can't take credit for this question, but my question for Billy is: who financially benefits from geoengineering? If you know, who's paying for the fuel in all these planes and aircraft? There has to be some financial benefit behind this. Who are those people?
Let me get into this real fast. There are specialized components in these fuels that are brought forth at economic prices, the additives in these fuels. It's just like you go to one gas station and you get a fuel and it's got this additive in it. Well, to sell someone else's fuel, they put an additive in, a different additive in another fuel for another business. So you got, I forget all the names of. You got Shell. They got their additive. All of it's a part of trying to cut rate to sell fuel, and they're getting these components directly from the government, who says, "Here, you can have this. This will make it run better." Well, the fact is, these aircraft fuels do run better. And these aircraft, the aircraft that used to be able to only fly above 40,000 feet, are now capable of going up to 50,000 feet, because the combustion systems on these fuels increase the burn power and the thrust that's developed within these engines. In fact, they do so that they go past the limitation.
Let me interrupt for a second, Billy. If you put yourself in the shoes of a struggling airline, you can't compete, you can't keep up, and somebody offers you a cheaper fuel, you're going to take it in a second. So it's kind of subsidizing the airline industry in a sense.
Exactly.
So is there a budget somewhere where we can see the line item for these products that are being added into the gas, or is that as covert as the rest of the geoengineering operations?
It all comes back to two sequences of companies, and that's called DARPA and British Aerospace.
What was the first word you gave?
DARPA.
DARPA?
Yeah, D-A-R-P-A, DARPA.
Like DARPA, the mind control program, DARPA?
DARPA is a versatile government entity that has a free clause budget.
Okay, thank you.
Same thing goes for British Aerospace. They have an unlimited, unknown budget.
Does this money come from the taxpayers?
That I can't answer. I know that there was congressional hearings of trying to isolate the budget for DARPA, and it didn't go nowhere.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm trying to get back to Sarah then.
I have a question for Billy.
Yeah.
And feel free to answer it if you wish. You told me about the story of your house. Do you want to talk about that?
No, that's still under investigation at this point.
Okay. If once everybody has finished speaking, so I don't disturb the chain of this thought, later on in your show, even if a few hours down, I have a special message to say about how to fight all of this. But it's good that we discuss the details of what is happening and who's causing it, who's paying for it. We should also discuss the possible effects that it has on people. But I'll stay in the background for now, listening to your show with great interest. And keep it up. And as soon as you people are exhausted, there's a whole bunch of people who want to talk after as well. I'm done.
Okay.
Can I just jump in here and just affirm what Bill is saying? As a counsellor, I've had to come out of paid work to support not only people that have had their children stolen by the state, but also targeted individuals. And Bill's story is resonating with me very strongly with quite a few people that I've been supporting in that arena. And there's one lady especially that I'm thinking of, who used to be a documentary filmmaker, and she's been heavily targeted. Some horrible, horrible things happening to her. And when she came to stay with me, I witnessed her being taken out for a period of 6 hours. She was unconscious for a period of 6 hours because she was talking to me. So I just wanted to affirm that what Billy's talking about really is happening to people, and the level of control and the electric control and the psychic control, what's going on is absolutely astounding and beyond most people's comprehension. So thank you. I just wanted to add that to confirm what Billy was saying.
I do want to make mention, since you're talking about specific type people. One of the associations I had throughout my lifetime was living with a person and going to school with a person and having a baby with a person by the name of Kathy Black. Her alias is Kathy O'Brien. And you can check that out. That Kathy O'Brien has made many a video on MK Ultra. We had a child together. I have never seen the child due to she's hidden out. Kathy only got to see the child again this last year after 25 years. I wanted to make mention of Sarah, since she sits right on top of the wind farm. One of the things that you can note in looking out across the waters to these wind farms is a spiraling vortex at the end of each blade as it cuts through these components of the aerosol atmospheric air. It creates a very specific vortex that goes up an infrared. If you took an infrared camera and took a picture of it, you could see that it has a spectrum of colors to it. This is one of the renowned things about the so-called aerosol spraying, is it creates a prismatic effect. And you can actually see these spirals come off these wind farms in the vortex as they initialize and pick up energy, electrical energy. They develop a light source of their own. They start bending the spectrum of light around them and develop into electrical energy that kind of, well, it makes them glow in the dark with IR capability. So there's a suggestion for you, Sarah. Go take a peek at night. You see these vortexes. Now these vortexes...
Yeah. Sorry, Bill, I interrupted you. Yes, I'll do that. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I was just going to say, you said they're best photographed using infrared cameras at night?
IR, right.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah, you can make a good IR camera right out your webcam. You can go on YouTube and look up IR camera webcam, and they will show you exactly how to turn your webcam on your computer or on your cell phone into a total IR capability. It's just a matter of this little glass filter in there. You have to take it out. There's a filter in there that blocks IR capabilities of your cameras. You open your camera up and takes that little tiny piece of glass out, and you've got full IR capability. The other thing that I was trying to get back to when I lost contact with you all in the beginning was the ramifications of some of the toolings, the two toolings that I know of that wind farms are capable of doing. That's, I've just mentioned the one of the spiral effect, making alternating current. The other was making static charges above it to the formation of aerosol Kim clouds above it, aerosol Kim atmosphere above it. All of these interlaces that were laid out are laid out with different recipes of this atmosphere skimming. They stack on each other, and they develop into a huge, large capacitor. This is just one of the toolings. These capacitors build up enormous energy from these wind farms. that are discharging static electricity at a pulse of around 3 times per revolution. It is pulsing into the sky, charging this atmosphere above it. At the same token, all these wind farms are grounded by grounding systems that are quarter wavelengths of 7,285 feet of grounding. A quarter wave of that distance, or multiples of 7,285 feet.
Bill, I'm just putting in, sorry, but I'm noticing, it might be important to the point you're making. I'm noticing that the wind farms and all the proposed wind farms in our area are all on lays, they're all on ley lines.
That's absolutely fact. All these electronic gizmos that they have been emphasizing, all lay on intersects of ley lines. All of them on intersections of 2 or more ley lines.
What would be the purpose of that?
These would be energy vortexes. This is, it gets so far, I can't get into all of it and explain it all in such. What I could talk about would take days and days and days. But I'm trying to get to the principle that these discharges of how some of the things that work. And by building up this static charge and these clouds above it, there is a way to stimulate that cloud, that energized cloud, with other frequencies, such as dual-phase radar, dual-phase digital radar, would penetrate as a beam, as will lasers that are pulsed at certain rates, giving them specific distances. All radar works on pulsing. People don't understand. It's not the frequency. It's the pulsing of that frequency. And these pulses are encoded digitally. So they perform as a digital tool to strike these ionized clouds, creating a discharge. And this discharge can be of different durations, and different durations of electronic discharges in the atmosphere is called EMP. And we all know the talk about EMP. The Air Force just did a finalization of their test of shutting off the power at a base in Utah a year ago, December, with Raytheon and Boeing. You can look it up, Raytheon test EMP at Utah base, and you will Google that up and you'll get the facts. It's right there. These EMPs are manipulation of different frequencies of pulses. When these discharges happen over top of these sites, there is a conductive discharge all the way back through the wind farms, into the water, into the grounding system, into the crust of the earth. This is a shock to the earth, which is known as a Schumann effect. Another thing to look up, Schumann effect. This discharge into the ground creates additional energies of crystal components that are in the earth.
So they're utilizing these wind farms for weaponry, essentially? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So they're purposely discharging the energy into the earth and then ionizing the clouds above to utilize that for...
Right there, it's 3 different tools.
On who? The people? Or is there like a... like, I don't know, what is it to dumb people down, or what is it? Depopulation, or?
Well, Again, like he says, Frankie, there's 15 different, well, probably more than 15 different tools. It's not all being used for just one purpose. There's 15 different reasons, at least, probably more.
There's 15 different tools to make 15 different combinations per tool. It's almost infinite, the capabilities that they're talking about.
Gotcha.
But what I'm trying to point out are the three toolings that I know of. And that's weather manipulation and terraforming manipulation of the Earth's crust.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How does the building of these mass, what do they call the algae blooms? How does that come into play in this?
They're all part of a reflective tooling. Most of this has to be where you have to be within the area of manipulation, where you have a control point. So these, like these super blimps, are more than just a way of transportation. They are a means of conductive tools within that tool that they're working with. This whole HAARP thing actually is nothing more, how you want to display it. It's like a super duper vacuum tube. You have heaters, you have a plate, you have an anode, you have grids. So it's a development of plasmatic effects. With every tooling of HAARP, there is a plasma effect that happens with each one of these toolings.
Okay. Thank you, Billy.
Okay. In fact, NASA is even chasing around what they call sprites. I don't know if you all are familiar with sprites. They're electrical discharges that are above the biggest storms, electrical lightning discharges on the Earth. They can now devise firing off sprites manually without natural effect. Otherwise, they don't have to have a lightning storm to make a sprite. A sprite is a discharge into the upper atmosphere into space. It has been seen as until lately, nobody ever saw. Now that you can.
It's the first part of lightning. Right before you get a lightning strike, you get a sprite, and lightning comes from the Earth. Is what, yeah.
Well, sprites are devised from outer space through the atmosphere, where it sets up a discharge there.
Right. Energy discharge. Now, would that be because of a crystal formation of some kind?
This is a natural EMP effect. This is a natural EMP effect. But now they have been able to devise ways of firing lasers and certain frequencies through the atmosphere into space to detonate and initiate sprites. Sprites give off a plasma, which also develops a very small amount of antimatter. And NASA has been tracking these antimatter particles, trying to figure out a way to corral them into our magnetosphere to make a collection of antimatter. You can look that up. NASA is tagging sprites.
Bill, just a bit of an out there question. I don't know whether you can answer this, but I'm looking into soul capturing. Do you know anything about this with the HAARP and what's going on?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the word. What type of capturing?
Right. Soul.
I don't know how to get into that. I can't dismiss soul as an energy, but I can't confirm. That's something I don't know about. I do know that the Russians were playing with ideals on it, and anything the Russians tried, the U.S. tried. Same goes for mind control. Same goes for manipulating portions of your body with frequencies.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to get into that. I didn't want to coax you, but explain now this side of it, the digital connection to the DNA. I think that's pretty stuff.
Excuse me, everybody. This is Sylvain speaking. I have Hans on the phone. I've connected with him, and I can put him on speakerphone. I don't know how the quality will sound, if he can hear you well, and if you can hear him well. But if we can just take a pause from the conversation for a second and try to connect him in, I'm pretty sure he would have something worth to show. Is that all right?
All right.
Sure.
Okay.
Billy, you might want to mute your microphone.
Okay, Dane, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. It's a little garbled, but I can hear you.
Okay, can everybody hear Dane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they hear you clearly.
Thank
Dane?
you, Dane.
Hi, Dane.
So I could join on sooner. We had overseas contacts, and there was miscommunication between Kim and I, and that I was told mine originally, but anyway, glad to be here now.
Before we begin, is the quality good from your side, guys?
Yeah, I hear him loud and clearly.
Okay, great. To make it, how about, Dane, if you introduce yourself, what you're doing regarding chemtrails and geoengineering, because all of us here and all the audience of the Hans Euler show, Project Lights Out, is against geoengineering. And if you could tell us a bit about it, and then after that, if you have time for questions or discussion, we can open up then.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. Again, thank you for asking me to join all of you. Again, my name is Dane Wigington. I'm the lead researcher for geoengineeringwatch.org. Also, as with the rest of you, I'm certainly, for the last 10 years, have been completely against these programs. And just to face this battle, as the rest of you have been as well. I mean, what is our choice when the biosphere is literally being ripped apart in front of us? So, this is just simply, it's been a long and arduous battle, but I think now we're really reaching a tipping point of awareness, and I think you guys probably saw that as well. And various issues are entering the fray right now, like finally the recognition of the chemically, artificially nucleated snow, which we've ranted about for a long time, but now enough people are taking notice, so that I think we have that on the radar. So the bottom line is, I think we all see the unraveling happening at light speed, and right now is the most critical time for us all to pull together and get this on the radar before there's nothing left to salvage of our planet.
Go ahead, Dane. What have you been doing recently?
Well, we have wheels turning in various levels of government, and we're trying to get those balls rolling with more momentum right now. And there's some things I'm not at liberty to go into at the moment because they want to have their strategies put together as to how to try to address this issue, if you will. Several governmental officials and so forth. But let's hope that there's enough backbone within many various circumstances for people to unite together, the government officials that do have still a semblance of honor left. Because right now, as these events unfold, and I think everybody knows what's happening in California. Kim, you're on the line too, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, and Kim knows certainly firsthand what's happening here in California. I mean, it's turning into an apocalypse right now, but that's the lack of moisture. They will not let rain fall here, but that's gaining a lot of attention, which is the silver lining to that, if there is one. But right now, there's so many people who have bought into the system, meteorologists, people from academia who have decided that their job is more important than their honor, than saving the planet. Really, very little honor left in the system. So we're trying to break that down and trying to also focus on those that are helping to hide this issue by towing the official narrative for the collective insanity. So we're trying to shine a spotlight on those people as well. They don't like that much. You know, we've already experienced that, like with David Keith. When he has negative press, everybody knows who David Keith is. You know, he reacts the same way all these people do. They tend to not know how to respond. So anyway, we're just trying to light spot fires everywhere we can, guys. And the more spot fires we light, the more likely they are to merge into a giant blaze that can't be put out. And this been in Georgia right now, we've just seen is a huge fire that's beginning to burn. And so we need to merge that with all the other geoengineering issues, the engineered drought in California, this parade of engineered snowstorms, which we've ranted about for a long time. And we simply need to bring this issue to light, and I think we'll see the dominoes start to fall to a degree that can barely be comprehended, because nobody's going to stand for this sort of experimentation once the public at large knows, and the power structure knows that. So they're trying desperately to hide it.
Any questions or comments for Dane?
Billy, Dane, I want to bring to the point, since you mentioned fire and all the chemical spraying that's going on out there. One of the involvements of spraying is contained, even though very minute amounts of these particles are within our atmosphere, they are heavier than the air, and they do come to the ground. And these components that are coming to the ground, and I'm mainly talking about aluminum oxide, components of the fuel itself, with the sulfur dioxides, those components make up a thing called nanothermite. Although there's not a whole bunch of it in the air, as it falls to the ground, it compounds itself. During the fires along the West Coast, during the last 4 years, one thing that has compounded itself over and over and over again is the fact that these fires burn with so much ferocity that it burns the ground now 2 or 3 feet deep. Also noticed by firemen is the fact that metal on gates, on cars, melt due to the extreme heat of these fires. Due to the extreme heat of these fires, the protection components that these firefighters are using does not work. The fires are so hot that even though they put a Mylar shield over themselves, they will not survive. This is part of the problem that has not been brought out. Just about the results of this chemical spraying. And that's just one of the bad things. Go back, Dane.
I caught most of that. Yes, we have talked about this. In fact, if you look at the two of the last PowerPoints I did, or the PowerPoint, the most important topic of our time, or several articles, the fact that these are incendiary materials that coat the foliage, but there's many factors involved with the heat in these fires now that are creating hydrophobic soils, and we have forest that's dead. We've had bioavailable materials that have helped kill the forest. We have convection now that's historically beyond any former precedent, because we have an ozone layer that's shredded, so we have a dead, dying forest coated with incendiary materials. We have fuel moistures that are at record lows because of the lack of water in some of these areas, so it's just the worst combination of all elements. But we've tried with these fire officials, we've tried to pass on mountains of very simple, straightforward, credible data, especially to CAL FIRE in California, but too many people are indoctrinated to a degree that they just can't see past that indoctrination, no matter how glaring the situation is. But I believe now, again, with these severe severity of the drought. It's completely unprecedented, and we'll always have people in positions, media positions, and also academia who try to paint a picture that such a drought has happened before, and that puts a lot of people back to sleep. They think if this has happened before, it must be natural, but those type of statistics are simply fabricated at this point. So much of the data is fabricated that there's really no truth left in the equation. There's nothing historically precedent about so many things that are happening. Temperature readings are being falsified to the downside, not to the upside, as many people have been trained to think. And at one time, there may have been some upside maneuvering with temperatures, but now it's to the downside. We routinely see 5-degree or more discrepancies between the official reading for the day and the actual reading on the ground. So they're under-reporting temperatures. So the temperature's higher, fuel moisture's lower, incendiary dust, dead forest, more convection, because again, we have a shredded ozone layer. The UV is off the charts. That's burning the tops of the trees. So they're dead. So that causes canopy fires to burn almost consistently now. So, it's the worst of all elements. And then all this feeds into the cycle.
If I may interrupt. So what? Okay, like Billy was suggesting earlier, there's numerous tools for this technology. Numerous tools. So we got a whole bunch of different people doing stuff, and nobody's on the same page. Like, this company or corporation might be doing this, and this government or this entity is doing this, and we've got so many different entities playing with different tools, and each one's, it's like the old lady that swallowed the fly. They start something, and then it's a snowball effect. Wow, can we start to narrow this down maybe we need to kind of look at how many tools we can discover here, because like Billy says, he only knows kind of like 3 of the possible tools that this technology is being used for.
But people get confused fast, and I think that we still need to keep a simple message, and that's as much as most people need to know that they're being sprayed like lab rats. They're part of a grand and lethal experiment. That experiment is virtually eliminating any chance for a future for them and their posterity. And for many people, too many details can bog them down. It's okay to pull those details out and have them ready for those that can digest them. But again, if we can simply bring to light that there is no natural weather, that these systems have been completely hijacked for many decades now, and now to a point where there's nothing natural left in the system, and that virtually everyone has been contaminated by these programs. If we can just bring that to light, I think it would cause a tidal wave of change and awareness that would bring a lot of other things to light. So, this is our task right now to help in a coherent fashion to start these spot fires of awareness. We're trying desperately to do this. We're sending out polished emails with a data package of several links, pleading with people to investigate, from meteorologists, Alzheimer's, autism, ADD, ag groups, farm groups.
Yeah. We need to get a hold of Scott Stevens. You know Scott Stevens?
I know Scott. Scott's a friend, but frankly, after what Scott has done in the last couple of radio shows, I can't consider him an asset to this. When he starts to...
Yeah, but he started out as, he's a meteorologist. He didn't agree with this, and he's changed his tune over the last couple of years. So,
if you haven't heard the Hagman and Hagman show Scott just did, where they unplugged him off the air after 55 minutes, I've asked Scott
Billy,
not money to watch.
Billy was on the same show. Billy was on the same show. I saw I talked to both Billy and Scott about this. He got hacked, man. You tell him, Billy. They hacked you guys to pieces. They made you look like fools.
I don't understand the question. Scott got hacked. No?
Stone, did you hear the question?
What was it?
Okay, Dane just asked if he got hacked. Was that really him on the show?
No, that was him on the show. It was. I know Scott, and I know his response, and I saw his email.
He didn't get hacked. What I'm saying is they censored him. They twisted it all around. Billy, you explain this. Billy knows all about it. He was on the same damn show.
Oh.
Number one.
Wait, just a minute, Stone. Just a minute, Billy. He's saying, Dane's saying something.
Scott went into New Bureau on the Joe Rogan show. I asked him that if he really wanted to move the ball forward on geoengineering, you have to stay on solid ground. You can't wander off into subjects that, whatever his opinion was.
He did the same. He did the same thing to Billy. He went to. He started talking aliens, and so Rogan is a shill as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, he is. I couldn't agree with you more there. That's why I did not do the show. That's why I opted out of the Rogan show, because you have to avoid things that are clearly not going to go the right way. But if you do end up on a show like that, Nick Baggett held his own on the show because he didn't wander off the course. But what happened on Hagman and Hagman has done a lot of harm to our cause, frankly. They don't even want to talk about this issue anymore. And I've done their show, great guys, and they were interested in the subject. Now they don't want to touch it. So again, it's imperative that people understand if you really want to move the ball forward on the geoengineering cause, you have to keep your compass heading. You have to keep on solid ground, and you can't wander off onto alien abductions and all sorts of other things. Whatever other validity there might be in other subjects, you simply cannot muddy the water like that. So Scott, at this point, I can't consider him an asset. I like Scott, but when you drag in personal perspectives, an issue that must have credibility, that's not helping the cause.
I agree with Dane, and we have to stay focused. But I'll just take a minute here to pause and introduce to Dane who he's talking to, because since he can't see the screen that we're looking at right now, Hans Ohlers, he's a German person who lives in Mexico, is the founder of the projects Light Out, and he has been interviewing people about chemtrails for several years now. He's a professional actor, he does the voiceovers and so on, and he's the host of this show, and he organized today's show. I'd like also to introduce Stone Lee, a friend of Billy Hayes, Kim Moore, of course, as you know, who's online right now listening to us, and also Sarah Michelle Goodley, who's out of the UK, who has a radio show, talk show there. It's very popular. What's the name of it, Sarah?
The name of the show is the R8 Women Show. So it's on Critical Mass Radio on a Friday evening, and it's GMT 6 p.m. till 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. normally. But yeah, we have a variety of topics. Generally speaking, how all of these issues affect children in the next generation. So that's the big overlap. So I work in a company called Birth for Life, and that's very much focused on the effects of women and children, and birthing women in particular. So that's an aspect that really interests me as regards with the chemtrails and the effects on the next generation. So.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And also we have Frankie Gotz. He's the head of the Canadian Awareness Network. He creates a movie documentary about brooding issues such as vaccinations, chemtrails, geoengineering. If you say hello, Frankie.
Hello, I just want to make a correction. I'm not the head. Terry Wilson's actually the head. Him and I are partners for the Canadian Awareness Network. But yeah, we make documentaries, we do interviews. We're alternative media. You can trust in local news, national news, world news, in health, science, technology, geoengineering, police state, and a lot more. So we cover everything.
Okay, thanks, Frankie. So, and there's myself, Sylvain. I'm anti-chemtrail, anti-geoengineering activist out of Gatineau and Ottawa. And right now, currently, we are 7 people in Hans's show. There's a lineup of more than 50 people right now waiting to speak. But this is a show that will last several hours. Did you have anything else to say, Dane? Because I know you're busy, and I just want to. I'm happy that you could participate. Anything you'd like to tell a bunch?
I'm very grateful for everybody putting their priority on this issue, because I believe rationally it deserves to be the priority issue, even with things like Fukushima, which obviously could end life on Earth as well. If we can't think cognitively because we're constantly exposed to these materials, it again puts geoengineering at the top of the heap. So I hope that geoengineering continues to be a priority, and again with the message that we put out on this, and I'm I'm not trying to throw Scott in the mud on this at all, and I have an open mind to whatever else may be happening in hospitals or might be out there with us. I can't speak to that, but if we're to move the ball forward on geoengineering, we need to truly stand on solid ground, keep a consistent message, and gain credibility. And we need to do this as fast as possible to get geoengineering to light, and thus, after I believe, to a halt by those that are participating, their families and so forth. I think would ask their family members not to participate in these programs if we really got it to light. So I hope we can all work together.
So, I got an idea though. If this is about chemtrails, what about calling for a full moratorium on airline traffic, period, until, you know, that puts a lot of pressure on some very rich and money-making industries to figure this out for us. You know, we shouldn't even have to fix this or figure it out. We should be able to put the pressure on the people that are involved in it to fix this problem. And if they're not chemtrails, then contrails are a problem, I say.
Well, certainly, they are certainly particulate trails. They're not condensation trails that we see. Even the shorter ones that disappear, the brightly colored ones, are particulate trails as well. So, you know, bottom line is we have to have enough awareness to affect what you're stating, and I don't disagree that that's one way to get at this, but we have to have critical mass of awareness in order to have enough pressure to push that sort of goal. So again, it comes back to...
So what if the people call for a full moratorium, ground all airplanes until we get an answer to what's going on here?
I doubt we are to do that.
If you want to really move the ball forward, that's the way I think we could do it. We're skipping everything else. We're not dealing with what's going on. We don't care what's going on. We can see something's going on. Stop it right now, and until we have answers to what's going on.
And last but not least, I want to thank Kim Moore for connecting Dane with us. And we'll have to say goodbye to Dane because my battery's about to run out on my cell. So, okay. Dane, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dane.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and the call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye
You're
for now.
very welcome. Okay.
I'd like to make a quick statement here, since Stoney was in there talking about this. Scott Stevens, I introduced him to Kim Sprain back in 1975, at which time he told me then I was full of crap. He finally recognized further down the road what I was saying back in 75 was real. This is to tell you, chemical spraying has been going on as a military emphasis for a long time. I was involved with chemical spraying back in the early 60s at Eglin Air Force Base, which at that time was high and low altitude spraying of Agent Orange. There are experimentations with Agent Orange in the early 60s. It continued all the way through now. Even now, Eglin Air Force Base is responsible for experimentation of different ways of introducing these components to our atmosphere.
Hey, can I add something in there?
Yep.
Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, like the Canadian aspect, I've been in communication with Environment Canada. You know, I asked them information about geoengineering in Canada, and they told me that the federal government here was involved with weather modification programs going back as 1948, and most of these activities took place in the 60s and 70s, but they never told me what type of experiments they were doing. So I just wanted to add that in there. And then they told me it all ended in the 80s, and obviously this isn't like, I got a letter right here from them, but they're telling me all they do now is just cloud seeding, and obviously they're doing a lot more than that. But I just want to add in there that, yeah, they told me they've been involved with weather modification experiments since 1948, and they did not disclose what type of geoengineering experiments they were participating in.
Okay, during the 1940s, during World War II, in the UK, prior to D-Day, there was formulation of spraying the atmosphere with specific chemicals trying to develop fogs that were capable of hiding what they wanted to do on D-Day. There is complete fact information about those programs, yet they're not talked about. They're not talked about. Chemical spraying has been introduced for a long, long time. The modern spray, which is the ionization, spraying ionized components into the air, is now a new thing, the new way, because they're using such small particles that it's not seeable, and the quantities are so minute that it's almost uncountable. But yet these compounds compound themselves time after time after time. They have a buildup, and that's the problem we have now. Just like radiation formulation, you can have a little bit and live through it, but if you're constantly being radiated, it is a compound buildup that will destroy everything inside. This goes the same thing for the chemicals that they're dealing with chemtrails, with chemical aerosol. It's no longer just feasible to call it cloud seeding. It's a lot more than that, because the perspective is that it is a multi-tooling component. And it's just unrecognizable for us to sit down and take 15 different puzzles, throw them on the table, and try to put 15 different puzzles together out of what they already have made. That's the whole ideal of the digital atmosphere.
I remember you making mention. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember you making mention about they were spraying sulfur dioxide and some other element, and it would compound into nanothermite. That's funny that you say that, because here recently in Canada, Environment Canada declassified some documents that outlined that they would be spraying sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. They would put it up there through airplanes or rockets or balloons, they even said. So, yeah. It just confirms what you're saying.
Sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. David Keith said sulfuric acid.
Yeah, I heard him say that too.
The last year, the launchings of so-called sounding rockets from Wallops NASA test site in Virginia, they confirmed, they actually came out and said that they were dealing with releasing aluminum oxide and thermite burns on rockets into the upper atmosphere to the ionosphere to do tracking of weather movements. This putting these components above the ionosphere is no more than a band-aid over the ionosphere, which we have already damaged. And everybody tries to put chemical components on damaging the ionosphere, when the true fact is H.A.R.P made the biggest damage in the ionosphere that there is by pushing on it so hard electronically that it thinned it out and put holes in it. These rockets, after the firing of these rockets... Isn't it
true, though, that radiation has caused the ionosphere to... Hasn't it caused the holes in the ionosphere, the radiation? All the nuclear testing that's gone on over the years?
You interrupted me, Steve.
Hey, have you ever heard of David Grime, Billy?
Yes, I've heard of Mr. Grime.
You've heard of him, eh? Environment Canada told me that he oversees all geoengineering experiments here in Canada. He's the president of the United Nations World Meteorological Organization. Maybe he'd know what's actually going on, or you think he's just a puppet?
You just said the word right there, puppets. Most of these people are so confined to compartmentalize into what they're supposed to be doing that they have no idea what's outside the realm of exactly the pinpoint that they're at. That's how they dealt with us putting HAARP together. We never knew what the other person was doing. We weren't allowed to talk about it. There was never any communications. We were trained that way. Not to get in conversations or communicate any way of what our part of the job was. So Mr. Brown, in fact, is limited to his resources. Remember, everything that's coming out lately, I don't care whether it's been meteorological, survey, NASA, all the information that has been acquired lately, there are holes in it. And intentionally punching out true information where you can't put all the dots together. Let me get back to this wind farm thing.
Yeah.
One of the aspects of wind farms is how it too manipulates certain products that are being dealt with. For instance, fracking. I've been working with tooling of what they call wireline services here in Kansas in order to have some financial status while I was hiding out from the government. In the process, we came across some situations lately of policies interrupting the wireline equipment. This interference was coming from the discharges of these wind farms. And what it's doing is these wells that they're drilling on the horizontal, the new wells of drilling horizontal has developed some problems, and every time there is a seismic activity, there are breaking out of these casings, and these casings are breaking at strategic points, and these points are distances that are always referenced to 7,285 feet. This is the tune-centered frequency that they devised for ultimately making resonance of those frequencies. After a fractation of these wells, which is no more than sending an explosion at a specific point to knock holes in the casing, there are pressure oscillations in those wells that are compatible with the oscillations that are happening from the wind farm Schumann rest. There is a pumping, an electronic pumping going on in the fractation of these wells, only on the horizontal wells. The distance of that casing, resonant oscillations that actually devises an electronic pump to force the chemicals that they're utilizing out further into the ground at multiples of our points of resonance of that 7,285 feet. Otherwise, some 2,000 feet below the surface of the ground, this fracking is going on.
Yeah.
It's well below the natural water points above the ground. The problem with fracking is the leaks that they cause above the ground, infiltrating the soil on top of the ground when they're pumping it in. The pumping that's going on below the ground electronically is not just happening to that one oil site. It's happening to all oil sites. This is another one of the toolings that is being utilized in the production of oil versus the electronic tooling being created by chemtrailing, by HAARP, by wind farms, by Doppler radar, by cellular components. Right.
Hey Billy, I remember you making mention about like the computers controlling the planes or something. Do you think these pilots, do you think they're aware of the spraying while it's happening?
No, I don't think. They
you don't think so?
No, I really don't. I think it's happening and they don't even know it.
Have you personally ever seen one of these? Sorry, have you personally ever seen one of these airplanes up close that actually do the spraying?
I have absolutely been on evergreen craft that were being set up at Eglin during test. This was almost 15 years ago. But there were contractors. These contractors, understand this, these contractors are, as of May 18th, have filed bankruptcy and are no longer part of the chemtrailing program. These were the ones that were doing nozzle spraying that were actually doing nothing but enveloping chemtrails through very visual components on the aircraft. The new chemtrailing is so elite that it's not even seeable. It is an additive that's being dumped in the field that comes out the jet engine. That is not to say that they have completely stopped the recipe for the nozzle spray, for the nozzle disbursement equipment. It is to say that the contractors are no longer going to be paid and have since filed bankruptcy. So goes with Evergreen. Evergreen filed bankruptcy on May 18th, and remember, they are the people who bought out almost all of Howard Hughes' equipment.
I have a question.
Go again.
Due to the fact that these independent contractors have been axed out of this program and are filing bankruptcy, is there any more chance that anybody that was on the inside working for them would be angry enough about the position now that they would be willing to step forward and speak on this?
I absolutely believe so. I believe once you get ticked off enough, you can only take so much. When you start losing families, you go beyond that point of fearing what's going on. You have to step up somewhere and eventually open your mouth.
Yeah.
With me, they used fear tactics for the last 20 years. For the last 20 years, they have tried to make me keep my mouth shut. I, like Snowden, had to hide my information in eggs elsewhere. I could not carry the information around. Of course, there are things that I cannot speak of in the form that it would be treason. But there are things that have been declassified that I can now speak about. And as these things get declassified, I have been speaking out of it.
thank you for your bravery, Billy. What you're doing, you know, I know that you know more than anybody that you've put your life on the line to help us be aware, and I want to honor you for that. Thank you.
I just have two little quick things to say before I say goodbye to everybody.
Okay.
First is I want to talk about a successful approach I have about getting the police involved with us. Okay? It's kind of sneaky, but it works and it's legal. Find coffee shops near the group of people you want to affect, near a politician, near a mayor, and so on. Invite a lot of friends to a coffee chat about geoengineering at lunchtime when a lot of people come in. Make sure you're sitting in the central table, and make sure you speak loud enough, and make sure you have papers with you. And what I like to do, it's kind of sneaky, but it works. I bring a newspaper, and I put my papers within the newspaper so people outside think that I'm reading from a newspaper, because if it's written in the news, they believe it's true for some reason. So that I've been very successful with that approach. Now, if you come at lunchtime near a police department or near a politician's office, and it scares them to see, and some of them are not scared, but they're very interested to see that other people are publicly talking about this. This is more than internet gossip. This is real people talking about the topic. And so what happened is two police officers from two different police departments approached me, showed me their badges, and they said, "I'd like to talk to you in private." And I befriended them, and they told me, "Don't reveal our names, because what you guys are talking about, we're not allowed to talk about in the fraternity of the police. Certain topics are taboo. And but we are fully with you." And one of them has been supplying some chemtrail photos to me, a well-known police officer, and I've asked for badge and identification. And we do have some police officers supporting us. It's nice to have some support from them, because a lot of these police officers happen to be real people. Some of them have actually wives and husbands and children and sisters, and they're very, very connected in our community. Okay, they wouldn't like to see harm happening to the community, but they are afraid, just like all the scientists are afraid. But when they see that people are talking about it publicly over lunch near where they are, they're very encouraged by that fact. So I don't want to tell you about the other impacts and other results, but this is a technique, I call it coffee chats, that worked with me. The last thing I'd like to say is I also want to reach out to the troops. Okay, soldiers are not mindless killers. Okay, they are the sons of and the husbands and wives of ordinary people. They're not allowed to, by law, or they will lose their pensions, to talk against the state. In Canada, if they talk against the Queen, because the Queen is the head of the army, they will lose their pensions. However, a lot of them, because of this approach, have talked to me in private and told me, "Sylvain, don't mention what my name is, but we're fully with you about certain issues, you know, other than chemtrails and so on, but also including chemtrails." And the last thing I want to say about them is that I have a friend here in Ottawa who has a proven therapy for PTSD, SD, post-traumatic, you know, the shell shock syndrome of soldiers and police officers as well, and also corrections officers. He's offering this service, this treatment, for free for any North American security person. And you know, anybody who needs that kind of treatment, it lasts several months, and it will get free treatment through me. So his name is David. He lives in Ottawa. He has a clinic here. It is alternative, but it is approved by hospitals. It's alternative therapy approved by hospitals. And so I'll be happy to connect any soldiers, because they're not the enemy, because they don't decide. They just take orders. And that's it for me. And I got your message there, Frankie. Thanks. Be happy to talk to you in private about that. Thank you, Hans. I hope to connect in about an hour or two. Okay. I see some people are connecting. I will get off, so make some room for others. Thank you all for joining.
Okay, thank you too, and thanks also for connecting me with new friends here. In fact, I'm just calling Joe McMurray. He should be here right now. Okay, he's there. Okay, Sylvain, see you in a while, and let's say hello to where is he? Here is Joe. Hi, can you hear us?
I can hear you clearly.
Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Yes, so I'm also in Ottawa, and I actually was just listening to the live stream. I'm not sure if there's a big delay or not, but Sylvain was talking about the coffee chats.
Yep.
Perfect. So, yeah, I'm kind of just an amateur, student of this area. I came to Ottawa 2008 when the whole economic crisis began, and I learned about the chemtrails and fluoride. Now, it took me a while to learn about the fluoride for a year or so, and I learned through the effects that it had on my body, of course, and then I was convinced, and I'll go into that later because we have a topic to discuss. Now, the chemtrails, when I first came to Ottawa in 2008, is when they were mostly in sporadic periods, once a week, maybe in the summer especially. 2009 is when I started to notice, of course, that's in line with the swine flu pandemic scare and hoax. Now we go further to now where we are today, and the chemtrails in our region are not only almost daily, or actually they are usually daily, they're also in more remote regions such as Northern Ontario and far Northern Ontario. So this shows that it's actually targeting every single population center, as to where before it was clearly in the larger cities. So anyone want to add to that? I have a few other things to talk about, but I just want to keep it point by point. So anyone else want to add to that, or any other observations?
You guys, what do you guys think of this viral video going around with the snow burning?
Yeah,
well, we talked about that at the beginning, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? I wasn't here for that. Sorry about that.
Can I speak on that snow video for a second? I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Ayers. It's a Facebook friend that took the time. She lives in Mexico, but she took the time to go grab some frost from the interior of her freezer. And she put that on a table on a webcam. It's on my Facebook page. And she tested that frost from the freezer with about 5 different lighters, as well as the flame from a candle. And she was able to repeat the black, the carbon, or the appearance of the black on the water, the frozen, the frost from the fridge. And the only part of the snow that was melting and making water was the part that was touching her hands. The part where she was holding the flame up to the snow didn't cause a melt. It actually, in a way, it was like the frost, or what would have been considered snow, was absorbing the water as it was melting. But that is
exactly,
on.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
It's capillary reaction. There's not very much water in snow. There's not very much water in snow, and so the snow actually absorbs and it evaporates. I mean, you'll see that in the winter. We got 4 feet of snow here where I'm at, and when it melts, there won't be that much water. It's going to go away. It'll just disappear without water running all.
Yeah, I noticed that because I collected snow to get tested, and I filled up snow in mason jars like to the top, and then out of a mason jar, that big, there was like only that much water.
Yes, so it's really dry, and you can have dry and wet snow as well. Like I mean, not all snow is the same. I live in Alberta, Canada, so I know a lot about snow.
Yeah. I was wondering how they explain the smell of plastic, though. A lot of them were talking about the smell of plastic.
Well, I think it's the lighter fluid.
That was the butane getting absorbed into the bottom of the snowball. I did the same experiment. I got a video up on my YouTube, and if you put the lighter on the top of the snowball, it doesn't turn black and it doesn't smell. If you put the lighter underneath the snowball, it turns black and it smells like something. It smells like burnt butane, I guess, fuel.
Yeah, we haven't got any snow to test here at the moment, just lots and lots of rain. Yeah, we could do with exporting some of the rain that we're getting to California.
I've got an acetylene torch at the shop as well, right? So I took some snow and I put the acetylene torch to it. I also did another experiment by not packing the snow, just taking the loose snow, and then when you pack a snowball, it's a little different. And so the two burned different. The snow melted way different than the packed snowball did.
Hey Stone, you said you were from Alberta. Did you know they do cloud seeding in Alberta every year for hail mitigation?
Hey, dude, you want to don't get me started.
Let's hear it.
You guys are newcomers, man. I've been fighting. I'm a body man. I fix hail damage on cars.
Oh yeah.
And so this started a long time ago. First, there was a guy outside of town. He started the first. They had these pots that they used to put out in the fields, and they would burn them to put smoke up in there so it wouldn't hail. This was some of the first experiments, and then the farming community themselves didn't look after it. Insurance companies took over doing it because they insure these crops. So they don't want it to hail because so they're seeding the hail for financial, and this used to piss me off because I make money off of hail and they're making it not hail for their own financial gain. So I had a scanner and I could listen to the planes when they were seeding. You could go to the air frequency and I could listen to them talking and stuff. And it's like a war up there when they fight clouds. It was really interesting because they deal with things called rate of rise. So they'll fly around up there and they look for a cloud that had a certain rate of rise. It's rising so fast up into the sky, they know that that's potential for hail, right? So they'll go and seed that cloud, and they rip around up there. What I also discovered so then I'm a tow truck driver, and I ended up as a first responder at a tornado site just north of town here. I later discovered that tornado was pretty much caused by seeding for hail, because they protected one area that they were interested in, but as soon as that storm moved past that area, they didn't care, but they dropped it.
What area are you in?
Right by Pine Lake. It was the Pine Lake tornado. 11 people died. 11 people died at that tornado, and I was the first responder. I was one of the first people there. It's only 15 minutes away from here, and it was an eye-opener. They caused that tornado, and 11 people died because of it.
Yeah, it was a byproduct, right?
Well, sure. Now, who's responsible? What would have happened if they'd left it alone? What would have happened?
Well, I guess I would say Weather Modifications Inc. is responsible because, as far as I know, they're the only company out there doing weather modifications like that. Well, hey, if it interests you, Stone, I got reports all the way from 1996 to 2011. Every single report Weather Modifications Inc. gave to the government on what they sprayed, where they sprayed.
I think, okay, here's my opinion. Anybody involved in weather modification should be arrested. I mean, the criminal charges should be pressed against them, either manslaughter or murder. They messed with the weather and people died. Look at, I mean, if you follow Dutch Sins, like when I first come across Dutch Sins, he predicted the Joplin tornado, and a lot of people died in that Joplin tornado. But he saved some lives too because of people that were watching him. And so that's when I became very aware that obviously they're manipulating the weather.
Can I jump in?
Why they would purposely make a tornado, that doesn't make sense to me. I think this is like out of their hands. I think it's getting out of control. They started something, then they can't control it, really.
Sorry if I interrupted, but can everyone hear me again in Ottawa here, Joe?
Okay, talk.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry, man. This is very clear connection. Usually I'm used to this stuff freezing up on me. So, yeah, in Ottawa here we got Canadian Forces based Livestream. If you want to Google it, and you should actually do it right now, everyone, on Google Maps. Livestream, Leitrem. Now, this is just south of Ottawa, and there's a HAARP-like dome and all these, like, this big clear-cut forest, which is cut in the shape of a big circle, which I found really weird. It's like this, like, almost like a crop circle in the middle of the swamp, if you want to put it that way. And they just built a road around it. So, like, you used to be able to drive right past it. The road is now built around. There's a large berm to hide the activities. But if you go on Google Maps, you can still kind of get into a glitch, and you can see it from the street view. So if you fool around...
Is that by the river? In northern Ontario?
No, it's in Ottawa. Like, it's just south of the city.
Joe,
is there something in northern Ontario, too, that's by a river that I've seen? There's something up there.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Northern Ontario. I haven't been there. Like, that's where I'm from, but I wouldn't know to think of it. But it's everywhere. Like, but the thing is, if you see this, please check this out, because I know that it's not going to be on Google for a while. Like, take a video of it. I did. I got to dig it out of my computer. I've got 100 pictures and videos I could never end up posting or sharing. But, like, basically this stuff, it comes so quick, and it's so obvious. But, yeah. Check it out.
Billy Hayes was saying the Echelon site south of Ottawa. Is Billy still there?
I think he is having some problems. Yeah, it says there's a problem with the call. He's disconnected by now.
He had given us a spelling that started with the letter L, L-I, Litrium or something. That was the one I didn't catch and was trying to... that it was that word specifically that started with an L that he wanted us to go onto Google Maps and look for.
Yeah, I just shared it in the chat box. L-E-I-T-R-I-M.
Okay.
Hopefully I don't get in trouble for telling everyone this. You know, they'll put me on the Yahoo list.
Okay. Trust me, you just talking to me, you're in trouble.
That's good. Well, you know what? It's not trouble, you know. It's just common sense. I should point it out. If people don't get it by now, well, you know what? Figure it out. I'm gonna go drink a beer because I'm the most average guy, man. But fuck, I got a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. I don't know if I got a video. If I have video on, can you just tell me, do I have video or not? Like, I don't want to embarrass myself.
No, there's no video on.
Thank you.
I've got a theory that if you're not on some government list now, you should be ashamed of yourself.
No kidding.
Joe, I want to encourage you to, you know, if I wish I could have known at your age and been able to start working on this at your age. And I think that when I compare myself or when I look to others in my community and I don't understand why they're not getting involved, it's fear-based is why they're not getting involved. To see someone, a youth, you're young to me, you're very young to me, and to see you involved and speaking up gives people like me hope for what we're doing. Sometimes in our older generations we think, well, are we wasting our time and our efforts? Should I be bouncing my grandchildren right now instead of focusing on geoengineering? But when I see young men like you step into this, I say to myself, okay, this is worth it. for a Native American woman, when we can involve our youth and we teach our youth, and our youth is able to go work on these issues, that's what it's about for people like me. So even if I'm not here to see the fruits of my labor, I'm thanking you now for getting involved and caring, because it's people like you who give me strength to keep going. Thank you.
Well, thank each other. Definitely, everyone. This is not just a one-way thing. Everyone's symbiotic in the work here, and we all appreciate it. We have our experts, obviously, who've been speaking earlier. That's something very deep in the info-based knowledge. That we can almost create a separate YouTube video for that, for the debunkers to debunk and think about, or bunk themselves in the head with some knowledge. But you know what? Humor is the biggest thing. I'm sure all of you have a good sense of humor, because if you didn't, you wouldn't make it this far. That's the #1 thing, right?
Right.
Yes.
And, you know what? Just point out the obvious facts. People can Google it, YouTube it, whatever. But I mean, if we just kind of stand idly by, it's kind of ridiculous. But at this point, I think like this burning snow stuff, back we already talked about it. It kind of makes us look silly, because just the fact that you're trying to do this little test with a lighter and snow, unless you have a laser, people are going to debunk you, right? So like, I do understand there's probably a bunch of crap in it, and it's in the water too, so there's no real debating that. But like, we just have to kind of like ignore these kind of traps that people can fall into, giving them ammunition to debunk us. And the best thing I want to recommend for everyone here, I'm not the best, but I know Frankie's got some video editing skills. Let's get the best captions of this David Keith fellow, and let's make him the scapegoat, even though he's just a face of this crap. Let's make a funny remix to it, like where he's like, it'll only kill 150,000 a year. Like, that's one of my favorite lines. Like, if someone can go and say that on TV these days and just get away with it, that's sick. You know, that's the most sickening thing I can think of. Let's put this guy. Let's make him the big face. Let's build a fundraising campaign like 9/11 did. Put his face on the bus with that quote all over Ottawa. How about that? That's a great quote. You know what I mean? Let's put our money together. Let's get a money pool. I know everyone here has got the real
We should
pool.
We should actually start calling for beheadings. We should have beheadings. We should start with Bill Gates. You guys probably don't even know the name Maurice Strong, but I think that guy should be beheaded.
Well, justice will come. Justice will come, however, you know. But mostly, let's get the message out and forget about the end result. Like, the sentencing hearing will be held later on. For now, let's get the evidence out. Let's put the accused in front of the public, and even if they're just a scapegoat, let's do it. Let's have our little sacrificial goat, just like they like to do.
Yeah, if we start somewhere, if we start like.
And when I say that, I mean raise awareness.
Beheadings are a lost art. They used to behead people.
But we got to
keep it common to behead a king or a queen, and so we should think about, you know,
keep it civil, though. You know what I mean? Like, I hear what you're saying, but
I don't want to. We can do it. We can do it nicely. If we're doing it for the betterment of mankind. You know, the same as their geoengineering and their population control. We're doing it for the betterment of mankind, to take out the Queen, take out the Pope, take out the.
No comment.
Okay, well, wait.
Well, it would install.
When we talk about not getting distracted, like at a geoengineering conference, we don't want to start talking about legalizing marijuana or aliens, for that matter. But when, and I did this myself when I was young and naive, because oftentimes when a person has a lack of education, their solution to the problem is annihilation. And obviously, if we run around and talk about beheading the Queen and other people, we're gonna take the fire out of our own movement. We don't want to risk making ourselves look half-cocked. And so one of the things that we're getting ready to do in our community, and I need help if there are people in Northern California in the Redding area, we're going to turn the cameras on the news team. Our next large awareness event will be held in front of either KRCR News Channel 7 or the Record Searchlight's office. And we will be filming them, not filming us. We want to begin to prove that we have not only the facts and the data and proof of these programs, but we now want to prove that our media is derailing awareness of, and we want to hold them accountable, and we're going to put them on the spot for it. So we're going to turn our cameras on them, and then we're going to make these videos available via YouTube to show other communities how to do the same. And I think that doing something like that, finding the people who can bring the cameras, lots of cameras, from lots of angles, and be ready to cover these events as they occurred. That's, to me, more effective than talking about beheading queens.
Celebrities, like
we need celebrities.
Roseanne Barr would totally get on board. You know, I mean, if I've tried to get a hold of her, but she's really into this. She knows a lot about it. She knows about MK Ultra. She's been through Hollywood. She knows. She's seen it, and she'll talk about it.
You know, I like Roseanne Barr personally. I liked her level of honesty. I was very sad to see the ridicule that she took for her opening at the World Series. They invited her. What did they think that they were going to get? But when we talk about putting forward international stars or famous stars, I think who is it? Daryl Hannah has a really good track record for being a face for environmental issues. Brad Pitt is another one.
Mel Gibson.
We've got to be careful about this stars power that we pick. If we put star power, controversial star power, in the United States, Republicans are not very fond of Roseanne Barr, and if we try to use her as our face, we're going to undermine ourselves again. This is something we really need to think about carefully. The reputation of the star that we asked to get involved. I love her, but I don't want to turn off half of my audience because I'm using someone who isn't favored.
Who your audience doesn't like. And I agree with you. And I mean, Dutch, since I've watched this total. See, there's a lot of people working, I think, behind the scenes to make sure we don't get together like this. We don't communicate. They try to keep us divided. I truly see that going on.
We're like the Brady Bunch right now. We're like the whole friggin' Brady Bunch in my window here, you know. We're dancing in the window, making a theme song. And let's call these guys out. But I want to get this Billy Hayes fellow back on the line. Is he still on the line? I'd love to hear something else if you'd like to add.
I've been trying I don't know what. Can you hear me? I had to go back to the computer.
Hey Billy, you said something about the Echelon site south of Ottawa. What do you mean by that?
You know what Echelon is, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the Echelon sites are just south. I don't know whether it's the same thing that you're talking about, but it's part of the RF interference down in your area is coming from an Echelon site that's just south of Ottawa.
Do you know the location that we can check close to, or?
I got it on Facebook. My Facebook, just Billy Hayes 67548 on Facebook. Somewhere in the last 4 weeks, I made a publication of the site, so you can look it up. I can't go anywhere on this computer. I'm on a tablet. It's not even mine, so bear with me. I did want to bring up a point that Kim was bringing up about going elsewhere and bringing in certain people or bringing in too much information at one time. This is what they did on Joe Rogan Questions Everything. That was supposed to have been a separate HAARP. Episode 2 was supposed to be HAARP. Episode 3 was supposed to be on chemtrails. They came in and edited it out so much out of 61 hours between myself and Nick Begich. They only put us up for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of that program was HAARP. Of course, now the only two people that didn't get shoved down the hole was Nick Begich and myself. Everybody else was so-called debunked because they cut out so much information. Out of 60 hours of information, giving locations, facts, I only got 6 minutes. 6 minutes out of 60 hours. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. And you can see, if you ever watch it, you can see how they edited it out. They'd ask a question, they'd cut. And just let me be standing there being stupefied. Same thing goes with Scott Stevens. You can go back and watch the program, and you can see where they cut. Ask him a question, they cut, switch to a picture of him answering a question of another realm, which was not even about the subject he was talking about. And he confirms, Scott Stevens confirmed that they cut away so many times from the conversation that it did not even make sense. And that's how they do things. They edited what was said that was vital to the true information to make it into a joke. And this is what they do. These people are professional debouchers. I mean, they're there to tear things up. No matter how many facts that I preceded in that program, they are gone forever. Because during that program is while Paula met her final death. And she was the guide on it. Every time I
would encourage anybody who has any doubt about what we're talking. It's called COINTELPRO or PSYOPs. It's also called sliding the conversation. This is something that these agents are actually trained in how to do to derail the conversation. And if you think that maybe our government wouldn't involve themselves in something like this, I encourage you to go back and research and study the American Indian Movement, AIMS, and look at the key figures like John Trudell, Russell Means, Dennis Banks. John Trudell was a great activist for the Native American movement, and while he was out in one of these activist marches, his family home was burnt down with his children and his wife in that home. They thought that they would be silencing John Trudell. They took everything the man loved and cared about. What was true to his heart, to any Native American heart, is our family. When they stripped that from him, he had nothing left to lose, which made him one of the most powerful voices of the American Indian movement. And among our Native communities, John Trudell is the most respected and the most trusted of that. If you think for a minute that they don't put in great effort and time, please research that. The American Indian movement and the COINTELPRO and PSYOPs that derailed that wonderful movement as it was occurring. And Native Americans are strong. We don't give up. We're stubborn. We will die on the Hill. And so American Indian movement is still alive.
Kim, does the name Weeble Ludwig ring a bell with anybody?
What was the first name of Ludwig?
Weeble.
Not to me, it's not ringing a bell, but I will research it.
Oh yeah, Google the name. He was quite the warrior in northern Alberta against the oil companies and stuff that are.
I gotta add to the derailing of the conversation part where she mentions that COINTELPRO thing. Like, I had a run-in with some media guy. I worked as a valet at a hotel, and this guy's like, you know what I mean? Like, they have their cars, pick them up, blah blah blah. They're going out for dinner, wine and dine. It's all good, whatever. But this old man, I pointed, like it started, like I had basically their car, I was doing valet, and it started pouring rain. And I said, oh, it's that geoengineering, you know, it's just going to last 15 minutes, because that's what it does. It goes in these short bursts. It's like when it does find a type of ground, it's just boom, and it's like a wall of rain. So especially if you, like this might sound out to lunch for some, but if you read up on Wilhelm Reich, and if you have orgonite devices which you build or construct, depending on the quality, this can actually induce this happening on a more regular basis, grounding the ionized charge, I believe. Even though I'm not a scientist, it seems to work, because when I built a huge device once with about 150 feet of copper tubes or whatever, I'm not that good at math, but 6 by 6 or whatever, 36 feet, I guess. There's a huge ass storm, and 6 houses got hit by lightning just by where I was. So it could be coincidence, but I also had an apartment roof that got destroyed and blown away in the wind, and I had to move, and the Red Cross put everyone in hotels. And I had orgonite devices in my house, so I was using moldavite and that gemstone. I don't know if it was Billy that mentioned earlier, but he's mentioned something about using the Earth's crust and crystals and stuff. Like if they create these pressure buildups or high frequency buildups where there's crystal bodies, like such as Afghanistan, where they just recently took over. It's got huge mineral wealth, whether it's industrial or other uses.
You nailed it there, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing this.
People don't have any idea what's underneath Afghanistan. I've heard some stories about what's down there.
And I got off topic because my original thing I was going to talk about, and I'll just finish my point earlier. I mentioned the guys, they jump off topic like I do. But what I really meant is the guy, I mentioned to him straight up, I confronted him, and he said, the public would never accept the cost of the chemtrails. Or he didn't say that. The cost of this program or whatever. And he was like this smug old man. He looked like a real prick, and I just felt like kicking him in the ass. But you know what? I took his smug response, and these are the creeps who are getting paid out. Like, oh, you're in this special little secret, you know? Oh yeah, you're gonna get lots of money. Like the guy's old. He doesn't give a shit. He's dead in 10 years anyways. So you know what? I'm 25, and fuck these guys. Excuse my language, but don't censor this. Fuck these guys. This is my future, our children's future, and if you reincarnate here, you got to deal with it. So
you got to wonder. Like as I grew up too, I never joined any of these little secret societies in town. Yeah. Like there's the Kinsmen and the Elks and the Lions Club and all these little secret societies. And I've always, I guess I've never been a party to it. And so I don't know what goes on in these little secret societies, but they all seem to do rather well, and they rule little communities.
Yeah,
they kind of control.
But my final point, the guy, so he was trained in his distraction, and I'm sorry, I'm always off topic, but this guy, you know what he says? He says, oh yeah, geothermal. He started talking about geothermal as if I was talking about like heating buildings with the Earth's energy core when I said geoengineering. Because the average stupid person hears like these two words and thinks they're the same thing. So like you're actually dealing with this huge cognitive dissonance based on people's shortage of vocabulary, let alone their knowledge and perceptions. So it's kind of like this ridiculous game where, like these guys are witty, and even the debunkers, they write very clearly. They're not used to people like myself who can respond clearly with the actual observation from a human standpoint with, a little bit of emotions and common sense. Like we're not robots in this machine. Like. I love how these guys, the science. Well, dude, like, you're eating and drinking this stuff, too. Like, obviously, like, I'm not trying to be rude, but these guys, I don't know, man. If they make love to their computer system somehow, there's a USB port for that. But I'm not trying to be rude. I will hope you guys chuckle on that. But I'm just like, I don't really get it. And, good's not trying to understand evil. But it's just criminal. It's criminal. Denial should be a crime. Billy Hayes, I'll put you back in the line, but the crystals and the ley lines, Afghanistan's got the lapis lazuli, a bunch of other precious stones. You think this plays into it somehow?
Absolutely. Let me confirm something here. Stone Lee can confirm this actually happened 2 years ago while I was having seizures. There was hail damage at my house. I could not afford, nor could I find any shingles or anything to repair the house, which the house is still in disarray.
Baseball size.
I put up cardboard, painted cardboard with tar, and put it over the house to protect the house. We got another hailstorm of baseball-sized hail, and it damaged that. So I had to redo it again. So this time I went out and did the same thing over again, but this time I put chicken wire over top to protect from big hail. That chicken wire evidently had something to do with whatever happened next, because next week, the third week in a row, we had football-sized hail. football-size hail. And Stone Lee can confirm, I actually had pictures of it at one time, which are right now in possession of the government because they took all the computers out of the house. But yes, these things happen with infiltration of trying to get around situations. You can put yourself in dire straits by doing the wrong thing. As for electronics,
but here's the thing, Billy, because of our age and we're 1 foot in the grave, you old fart. This is for we got to make up for the mistakes of our kids and grandkids, and so we got to do this.
Well, in my case, my kids are well informed. I mean, considering that I was the one that got with Dutch sense during the Joplin tornadoes and got my family out of Joplin 2 hours prior to it getting hit.
He saved your life, didn't he?
No, he saved my kid's life. My stepson's life. I moved them down to Anderson, Missouri, that day, 2 hours prior to the tornado striking. And it saved their lives. I mean, this thing, all this stuff just falls around me. It's incredible. But it happens. And it's real. It's not fake. The facts are there. I mean...
Well, that's what I say too, Bill. You know, we should be able to... There should be some... We should be able to... We've got the proof. I've even said this to Dutch on his radio show. We have the proof about Joplin. We really do. That is one of the biggest eye-opening proofs that I ever seen in my life. 78 hours before that tornado, he called it. And it hit there. You know, that's proof, in my opinion, that of something.
I'm curious to hear from Billy what happened with the football-sized hail and the chicken wire.
I still do not have a complete house. It destroyed my house. I mean, totally destroyed the roof. I only got 18 hits. But 18 hits on a house, on a roof, a football-sized hail, you do not have much of a roof left.
How about your neighbors?
I live in a country area. My neighbors are far and few between. Like I said, I live on a manure pile. And that's for real. My financial status. I have never asked anybody for money.
You mean you did live on a manure pile? You're not there anymore.
Oh, I'm still here. I just went underground. I live in a shelter underground. And you ought to try to walk a dog every day from down here. I have a 14-year-old son who still kind of lives here. I have to send him out nightly to stay with friends because we live in a situation where our lives are compromised.
Do you think that that hail was an attack on you?
Some weird things happen. Weird things happen in my life. My wife dies during a hailstorm. More hailstorm. I was having seizures during that hailstorm. Too many things. Too many things are not just coincidental.
Billy Hayes, you need to get a hold of a piece of garnet and carry it with yourself. I'm not trying to be the voodoo magic guy here, but I swear that you would probably benefit from it, man. And I'm not a superstitious guy, but I've actually experienced quite a few strange things myself that even sharing them probably with this audience would sound kind of ridiculous.
There are unexplainable things that happen around crystals. Crystals do have an energy of their own. anytime there's any compounded pressure on a crystal in any way or form, there are subjective additional energies outputted from that crystal. That's what. That's how radios became radios. Without crystals, there would have been never a radio.
One of the things I want to mention to people, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to view the YouTube video by the old lab rat, but a lot of people heard about these orgonite, the orgonite discs, and wanted to do something to help themselves and their own communities, but they didn't understand the spiral, the direction of the spiral in these orgonite discs. And so when you get ready to make your own orgonite products or to purchase an orgonite product, please be aware of the spiral and which direction the spiral is going to go, because energy comes in one area and it goes out the other. And you want to be really careful about the energy that you're putting out. So you could be thinking that you're doing something to help your area, and if that one coil is in the wrong direction or isn't just made the right way, you can end up bringing in more damage to the area around you. So just something I want people to consider when they're going to use the orgonite. I believe in the orgonite. I want people to use it, but I want people to use it the right way.
Well, keep in mind, Wilhelm Reich, he made orgonite, or his device, organ generator, near a nuclear facility at one point. He created these dark, evil clouds he's described as. Now, everyone here, if they haven't already, you definitely need to read up on Wilhelm Reich. He was an associate of Freud in the, I guess, pre-World War II period. He fled to the U.S., and the media like to call this guy like this because he was a doctor, and they said he just had sex with his patients to cure them. But it was like this big smear campaign on him. He actually also had research into the orgone generators, and this actually definitely, obviously, would play into this. But basically what they're doing, in my sense, is, forget the orgone generators, they're actually doing this on a atmospheric scale with their frequencies, and it's trying to override the natural balance, and we all see that. But of course it falls on us, we eat it, we drink it, and you've got the IG Farben, renamed Bayer, you've got all these Dow, DuPont, Monsanto, it's all the big Hydra-headed snake creature which we all subject ourselves to and subsidize through our governments and false representatives. So it's a political problem, it's a humanitarian problem, ecological, psychological, and sociological, man. Like, it's very deep. And everyone's so stuck in their own part of the compartmentalization that they keep us divided and we can't make any progress. We just need to agree on what the best way to expose these things are, and maybe even pretending they don't exist and drafting preemptive legislation on independent candidates demanding a ban to future geoengineering, even not admitting it now, to stop it at a certain date. That could give them some kind of...
I call for a moratorium.
Even better.
Look up the word, a moratorium, on airline traffic, total, all of it, until we get to the bottom of it. And I'll bet you we find out real fast when you start shutting down these airlines.
It's not just the airlines.
You're not. Well, I don't care. Right? I don't care. You just start saying no more airline traffic. They'll answer the question for us with that kind of pressure.
I agree with you, but it's not going to happen.
Well, nothing happens till you try to do it.
Yeah, you can't say it's not gonna happen. Like,
well,
it's definitely possible with enough people demanding it.
That was the point I was just going to make.
What Stone is saying about asking for the moratorium, even if the moratorium isn't achievable, like we see how they scream when they have to shut down airline traffic because of these big, huge storms. So, right, we're not going to get them to do the moratorium. It's the idea of presenting the moratorium, having it discussed, opening that conversation. So the point is not necessarily that we think we can shut down the airline industry. It's just to being able to have this conversation, and without putting forward the paperwork and the legislation for a moratorium, you won't get the conversation. So you got to put their backs up against the wall to get them to even address the issue.
You convinced me already. I hear what you're saying. It's economic leverage. Vote with your pocketbooks. I agree with you. And how about this? Let's use this today's chat to everyone come up with their own little ideas of how this actually might come to fruition.
Something that I've been trying to get in with for a while is just the importance of the alternative media. And it's so, we've just had the People's Voice coming online the past couple of months in Britain, and that's made an amazing difference at getting the information out there. But more than that, it's a case of making sure that we have plenty of alternative media coming online, because the mainstream media is redundant. It's absolutely redundant. And King's point about actually campaigning outside these mainstream media areas and showing them that they're not doing their jobs and why they're not doing their jobs. And I think if we carry on with the quality, with everyone doing the bits that they're doing, whether it be radio, whether it be making videos, music about stuff, whatever, it doesn't matter. The quality of the stuff that's getting out there now is amazing. And what I tend to do when I'm working in my clinic is just have one of these programs on for people. And it's amazing how many asked me to write down what program it was, because it's enriched them so much in the time that they've been in here. And just little tricks like that, I think, exposing more and more people to the alternative media, and they're feeling it's soul food for them. And I think that's a real biggie that we need to focus on to get the information out there on issues like chemtrails and geoengineering. So just thought I'd like to get that in.
I'll just go on a little monologue for some comic relief here. Like, basically, I just want to give you guys an outline. I'm sure if you're already listening, I mentioned earlier, 2009, the chemtrails were heavier in Ottawa. They were like the low, wide chemtrails. And it was kind of funny, but I'll share this because it's, I know people say not to get off topic earlier, but the thing is you got to have the anecdotal stories to really get the big picture, because the cognitive dissonance is induced by the seemingly random nature of all these events. But the problem is, if we don't connect them, we're not going to get a real answer. So in 2009, I had my first out-of-body experience, and only out-of-body experience. It was accidental, laying in bed in that summer. Coincidentally, that's the first summer I ever noticed heavy chemtrails in Ottawa. Now, this is during the swine flu pandemic, where they wanted everyone to get a vaccine for the swine flu. The Canadian government purchased enough vaccine for the entire population at $100 a pop. I think that's 30 million by 100. That's about 3 billion. They never really mentioned it, other than some anecdotal articles in the cheesy communist-style newspapers delivered for free over large cities called Metro or 24 Hours. Now, you take that further, only 45% of the Canadian populace got that vaccine. That was a $1.5 billion swindle, larger than any other political smear campaign on any individual candidate. So what they've captured is our attention and the fact that they're the ultimate distractors. They try to put these $90,000 scandals on individuals when the real robbery is monumentally larger and exponentially larger. And that's the same as the chemtrail issue. It's like, basically they're playing on people's stupidities and going for the lowest common denominator, and it's working for them. So we got to raise that lowest common denominator to change the ratio of success on this issue. I'm not trying to ramble, but you know what? I had a few beer, I had some rum, and I'm still talking intelligently. So clearly, no fluoride diet is good for you, and I also enjoy cannabis once in a while. It's good for you, and that's just my personal opinion. But you know what? I'm still talking more intelligent than most people would. I'm not just, and obviously you guys are intelligent here today. I mean, the common populace ignores these issues. Sorry for my little rant, but
okay, let me. Yeah,
that's the average person talking. That's all I gotta really say.
Joe, I've been to a couple of hypnotists in the past, and one of the things they told me as a audience member is, you know, they would, if you smoke pot, you can't be hypnotized, and so I think this MK Ultra don't work so good on some of us, and there's a reason why.
Well said. I think that connection might be the secret answer to this whole problem. I think we should take all these guilty parties in the chemtrails and government and force them to a gas chamber of marijuana, non-lethal, and you know what? Maybe we can actually open their eyes to their crimes, and that's the ultimate form of justice. It'll be
and they'll just pop out normal.
Exactly. It'd be like some kind of miracle. I think that's the nicest revolution to call for. It's not even a threat. It's like almost like a promise.
That sounds good to me.
Well,
so, hey, you know how...
I'm 53 years old, so and still smoke every day, so.
Nice. Yeah, Monsanto, you know how they were behind Agent Orange spraying in the, you know, in Vietnam. You think it could be possible that this company might also be affiliated with manufacturing the chemicals used for geoengineering?
Very, very much so. Very, very much so.
Yeah, like it's kind of fishy, right? They already got. I don't know if they're producing them yet or something, but they got a patent for aluminum resistant seed.
So this, Frankie, this goes back to what we were talking. There's 15 tools type of thing. So, and everybody's doing their own frickin' thing, and nobody's, I mean, some of them are interacting with each other and causing problems, you know, is what I see.
Compartmentalization, eh?
Well, I'd really like to get in on this, because you know what? This Skype, I hope this whole thing's being well recorded. I'm recording it myself as of about 30 minutes ago. Everyone should do that independently as well, post it on your own channels and get various copies out there. But, essentially, we're getting into the meat and potatoes, and this Monsanto purchased some science research front group called Climate Corporation or whatever, and they study the weather patterns. Like, it's so obvious, people. Like, honestly, let's just point out the CEOs of all these companies. I'm not saying for any type of you know, retribution, but point them out to the public, make the information known, and let the justice courts take care of it themselves, because they're waiting for the public to create the demand. The problem is people are afraid, like Sylvain mentioned earlier, there's police that are into the chemtrails and they know about them, but they don't want to step forward. We just need to make it easy for them to step forward. It's not an ultimatum, it's more of a, you know, it's something that we nurture and put forth slowly.
It's a crime scene. We have a crime scene. Phone the police.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll get them on our side slowly, like point it out when we can. But, you know, it's like, as long as we stay together on these topics and focus on them, but let's get some real results. Like,
you know what? You know what's absurd? In Canada, they got the Weather Modifications Information Act, and that piece of legislation goes over the rules, regulations, and punishments for, you know, doing weather modifications in Canada. It says, guess what the punishment is if you modify the weather without notifying the government? It's only like $1,000 fine and like a couple months in jail. Yeah, okay, a couple months in jail just for, you know, messing with not just the ecosystem but with every living organism within it. Like, that's just absurd, man.
So let's take that. Let's take that into perspective here. I got a real strong point to put out. Basically, you just mentioned, okay, so you break the law, here's your fine, right? Whatever, a couple $100 or $1,000, whatever you can afford it, it's cost of business, right? Now you take it on the other end when we get these whistleblowers when they're talking about chemtrails. Like, we're basically seeing the industry does it, they get away. When the people speak out, let's hear about recently in Europe. I don't have the link offhand, but it was this obscure agency, and this woman put forth legislation that would require a ban on chemtrails and H.A.R.P, and she got detained under the Mental Institution Act of her country, and she's been incarcerated on that. So if anyone else wants to jump in that knows about that, please do. If you don't, I'll just give you some more background. Basically, like these mental health acts and all this initiative, like in Canada, we have Bell, the phone distributor for everybody. They're like, oh, it's our Let's Talk Day. If you text, it's money to mental health. It's all about mental health. Local community mental health, because the globalist agenda is always initiated on a local plan. That's why the mayor of Ottawa, 2 terms running, have spent more than 4 weeks in communist China. No lie. Paid for vacation with about 30, 40 delegates. This stuff is straight out of like a bad comic book. It's so cheesy. And you know what? Basically, the mental health initiative will help police dissidents, and it'll actually criminalize asking questions if you look at the big picture. Because sometimes, like myself, I'm very grounded now. I know of all the potential outs. I make sure my car exhaust is no longer dragging on the ground, even though there's a big chunk missing and it sounds like a straight pipe. But you know what? I drive very gently, and I get around the rules. But for the guy that has a little bit of a temper and he knows about chemtrails, he's going to go out and maybe seem unbalanced to his friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, and then they're going to report him and they'll get locked up. But luckily I'm so well balanced and grounded, and like most of you here, we made it this far. We're already making a positive effect on the ones that we communicate with, because even after a few years, they get to see everything we mentioned is true. So I'm going to let you guys pick up from there, but lots of info, lots of just mumbo-jumbo, but it's very well to put it all in perspective.
Yeah, we got to be like, you know, the advertisement companies. People know what's at McDonald's. People know what's being sold at Home Hardware because it's constantly being put in front of their face. We, the alternative media, activists, whistleblowers, we all need to be very repetitive to the point where it's a little sickening. But the more repetitive we are, the more information we try to put out there, the more creativity you put into trying to make that information appealing to others, whether it be through, you know, visual arts or making a video, or, you know, designing a flyer, or putting together PowerPoint speeches, or even just, you know, whatever, go out with a megaphone or whatever it may be, like Sylvain Henry said with the Tim Hortons. I thought that was a great idea. I'm actually going to try to collaborate with some of my friends to do that. I always thought of ideas like that, you know, there's a big crowd, say there's a big crowd, whatever, tourist section, and your buddy be on one side of the crowd and you be on the other, and pretend you don't even know each other and just run into each other and just start having like this intellectual conversation about some real issues, and maybe in heads and get some other people talking.
Well, I'm downtown Ottawa, Frankie. Everyone here, like, I'm downtown Ottawa every day. I'm basically in the government buildings, the officer halls, the military, Royal Canadian Air Force halls. I'm delivering there the little napkins and stuff. Like, that's what I do. And you know what? These people are real people. Like, I almost feel like writing on the napkin, like, hey, chemtrail, please save me, you know, just to fuck them up. But I wouldn't do that because I'm a professional at my work. But
well, just have a printed up little piece of paper
and hand it to the girl I delivered to. I should be like, I should go with like 10 pamphlets, like 20 of them. Be like, hey, can you hand this out at the bar when people are drunk and just see what they react to? And I'm like, I'll promise her, I'll be like, I'll give you $50 if they shit their pants, you know? Because they're officers, and I'll just be like, yo, it's like, this is a delivery, man. Like, I'm not a fucking science rocket here, you know what I mean? Like, for Christ's sakes, let's get real, people. Like, if you can't figure it out by now, you're eating too much crap. You're eating too much poison food, and it's clouding your judgment. Like, people are all about their ego. Like, everyone wants to be this, like, super spy. It's like, no one wants to hold the door open for the next guy because they're on this great mission to be, you know, capitalist gainers. And it's like, people, like, put a smile on your face. I'm smiling every day. I'm outside in the snow and the cold. I'm laughing and smiling. People are freezing and they're angry for most of the time they're out. The chemtrails probably play into it, but it's like, it's mind over matter. Like, it's kind of like, almost the chemtrails are a psyop in themselves, making people feel hopeless, you know what I mean? So don't ever feel that way is all I'm really throwing out there.
I wonder how much the blocking out of the light has to do with the feeling of hopelessness. I know that so many people suffer from seasonally adjusted depression, and the absolute lack of sunlight that we've had this winter in Britain has been real misery making. And something else that I think needs to bring into the equation is how many children are suffering from vitamin D deficiency, and because they're suffering from vitamin D deficiency, their bones are a lot more brittle, etc. And so then when those bones are breaking, then their parents are getting falsely accused of abuse, and it's more that the children are more likely to be taken away from them. So, and the whole sunscreen thing is, an abomination in itself, because the chemicals that are going into that. The best protection from the sun, if we need any, because we don't really get a lot now, is coconut oil. So, and Chris Savage was talking to me about this yesterday. And coconut oil, actually eating coconut oil, is one of the best ways of protecting your children from any harm of the sun. But get your kids out there in the sun, because there's so many that are vitamin D deficient because of the lack of sunlight, because of the chemtrailing. So, I don't know if anyone else wants to come back to me on that.
I'm just opening the file you sent me, Billy. It's huge. Can you tell us about this?
It was real. That's the size of the ones that came down on September 15th, 2010. Wow. That's when everything started. So
that's just golf ball size, eh?
That's bigger than golf ball. That's about.
Oh yeah, yeah. The 17th were the football, right?
Yeah. Well, they were about 15 and a half, 16 inches on the 19th. But you're not going to run from something like that. I mean, it knocked holes through the roof and through the ceiling. I mean, it went all the way through.
I bet that was scary, eh?
Oh, yeah. Well, thankful we were all down in the shelter, but that didn't do any good for the house.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I got to jump in on that. Like, when my roof got blown away in Gatineau in 2011, I think it was May, I don't know what the exact date, May 20th or June 20th, but there was a huge hailstorm too, and it's like, I swear to God, my apartment got attacked by this H.A.R.P. It got hit by lightning, literally, caught a fire across the hall, flooded the building, and ripped the about 60 by 60 roof, that's 6060, onto another lady's house and wrapped it around her, like, lawn to lawn. It was hilarious. Like, it's ridiculous. I'll try to get the link. I could pull it up from Google. And this stuff is like, it has to do with the orgonite, because it grounds this H.A.R.P. So basically, instead of having this widespread, slowly static buildup that never dissipates, like Billy Hayes mentioned, you got the wind farms with the low resonance, the H.A.R.P. counteracting the charge. Well, it's going to ground itself somewhere. So if you build orgonite, and the more that there is, it creates opportunities for it to ground itself. And wherever this happens, it will be an extreme storm or extreme rain or extreme winds. But every time, ever since there's been orgonite in the city, I've had it here. I will take the claim for fame, even though it sounds counter-science. But whenever they call for an extreme storm warning, there has never been any damage or anything ever since the orgonite has been here. So it's definitely diffusing their media hype, which is like 2 to 3 days in advance, and it always actually ends up hitting in surrounding areas rather than this area. I don't know if it's a coincidence. I gotta throw it out there. I'm an average guy, average Joe, literally. It's my name. And honestly, you know what? These are the stories that people gotta share. The common sense stories. It's the ones that really make a clear picture of it all.
Let me explain something real quick. I believe that orgonite cloudbusters do work. They do work. But I will advise you, you're playing with danger. Because it busts up the clouds. You have no idea what frequencies you are resonating. Just as I believe Sarah was talking earlier about spiral orgonite disc. It takes one little mess up and you have defaulted a whole situation that could be harmful to you. could be harmful to you.
I agree definitely, and I definitely give that warning out to everyone. I'm going to quickly throw out some of the, basically precautions I've taken. I've learned recently that the best orgonite to make is made from beeswax honey. There's a guy in Italy, Mark Sharan, or he's got some aliases, but basically he makes a beeswax orgonite honey matrix rather than the chemical resin, which will create structured beeswax hexagons rather than this artificial plastic. Also, if you have some knowledge of crystals or stones, they are beneficial on more than the physical level. There's 12 stones called the Ascension stones. Basically, this might sound out there for some, but if you can grab a hold of a sample before they become unavailable, there's I'll name the ones I can remember. There's pedalite, scolasite, naturalite, danburite, Tibetan tektite, golden quartz, scolasite, if I didn't name that, brookite, Petersite is one, but it's not one of them, tanzanite, and there's quite a few. I'm sorry, there's a long list, but those are some basic stones, and I'm telling you, they each have their own metaphysical properties. You can Google it. Basically, if you're aware of HAARP, you know that the negative frequencies can affect the weather. Well, empower yourself with these personal energy devices called the 12 Ascension Stones, and I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I've bought myself a lot of them, and sorry if I'm going off topic, but I'm telling you, most people, if you're in this verbalization of this struggle, then the stones will definitely aid you in that manifestation. That's what I believe. It's helping me.
Okay, I'm going to state this one more time. All these toolings do not work by themselves. It takes multiple toolings to get the results that they want. No one thing is capable of manipulating but one thing at a time. It's the tooling of utilizing other tools to get results. There is absolutely no way possible to stop HAARP. Once the frequency and the pulse is indicated and pushed through the earth, there is no way to hide from it. It will go through anything. There is no such thing as a Faraday cage stopping HAARP.
Can I jump in? Because I have this great moment of insight here. People have been talking about this Fukushima rods leaking through to the Earth's core, creating this scandal where if this Fukushima rod keeps melting through to the core, it could create some type of planetary meltdown. Well, when I think about this, I laugh because they say in Russia they built a cement base to contain these cores. And obviously the denser areas of the Earth would probably be more dense than cement. So it's a pretty dense argument if you ask me, but I also believe they're going to use HAARP as some type of planetary, pressure exerting device. With the change in frequencies, they can actually try to exert some type of tectonic movement, or perhaps ground rippling effect. So obviously you mentioned on that, I'll let you go into that, but basically they're going to use these excuses of other things to implement some type of ridiculous extraction of the Earth's core. Like, in my mind, is almost like some type of satanic prophecy, where it's like they want to unleash the fucking ores of hell upon our beautiful soil and water.
Okay. Let's resolve this. HAARP is a frequency of pulses. It is not a specific frequency. It's a frequency of the tooling they wish to use. There's HAARP on 28 to 32 megahertz. There's HAARP on 400 megahertz. There's all sorts of HAARPs out there. Or should we say affiliated HAARPs. This is the fact. What goes on this Earth is an electronic device that transmits via ground wave, via sky wave. Any transmission of RF has to have those two complements: a ground wave, a ground plane, and a sky wave. We have no idea. We have no idea what these signals are doing beyond the Earth. These frequencies and pulses are going out to infinity, and we have no idea if there are aliens out there or similar life forms to us, what we have done elsewhere in the universe. We have no idea what these signals have done in infinity. We may have just pissed off another alien world somewhere. Break.
Well, guys, it's quite late here in Britain, and I'm going to have to shoot off. So thank you very much for having me on here, and please, I'll enjoy listening back to the conversation later on when once I come back and able to listen to it when it's loaded up on YouTube and stuff. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you for some amazing information. I've learned a lot today.
Sarah, can you stay for one second? I want to bring up one of the solutions before you go. Can you give me 1 minute, please?
Sorry, yes, I turned my microphone off. Yes, I can. Sorry.
Okay. What I'd like to ask from you, and what I'm going to be asking others to do, is that I think one of the ways that we can help the general public understand the reality of this geoengineering, specifically the aerosol spraying or chemtrails, whatever we want to call them. If we can get people across the globe, not just across the United States, but if we have time-lapse cameras pointed towards the skies where we can show where these aerosol lines are laid out, how they grow into the clouds, and as they move, the storms they create. If it's possible, because you have such a huge audience, if you could ask members of your audience who are willing to help us record what is happening in our skies. We need to network all of that information and data in together so that people can see these systems as they're created and as they move. And that was my question to you. Can you get your audience to help us in this?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, and I was thinking of doing something similar myself. In that, as I said at the start of the show, that daily over Lincolnshire, we have chemtrailing going on, and you can see it very clearly when you know what you're looking for. Unfortunately, there's so many people don't know what they're looking for, so the education still needed there. But I do think some sort of time-lapse photography on our beach, for instance, if we could have something like on our, I live near a town called Mablethorpe, and there's a lot of people take photographs of the beach because it's big open space, and inadvertently they're capturing all of these chemtrails. And if you go on Facebook, if you go on my Facebook, there's a Facebook page called Mablethorpe Photograph Album, and so there's photographs on there from years and years and years ago right up to present day. But I think anyone that knows what they're looking for will be fascinated to look through those photographs and see how the chemtrailing has become so ingrained in daily events. As I said, all over Christmas we didn't have any chemtrailing. Today, for some reason, we haven't had any. But between the 7th, well, we had it before Christmas, it was every day, as we said, and from the 7th of January right through till yesterday, there's massive amounts of chemtrailing going on. So any day you can go out there, you can capture this on film or video. But I think that would be a fantastic idea to do it worldwide.
So the other thing that's so important, I think the other thing that's so important when we're filming our skies is that so many of us are so good about taking pictures when the spraying operations or dispersing operations are taking place. I think one of the things that's going to be vital for me in my area with doing a time-lapse, showing the skies regularly, is that in the Northern California area, just below Southern Oregon, and probably in Southern Oregon too, we have these long stretches, days in a row with these chem ops happening, and then nothing for 2 weeks. And sometimes when there's huge weather phenomena events happening in other areas, it seems like all the aircraft are gone from our area and not doing it. It's really important that we film 2-week stretches of skies, blue as day, because when our society, our masses fall for or believe this contrails theory, how do you explain no contrails for 2 weeks straight? So filming clear skies is just as vital as filming the geoengineering operations that we're seeing. I'm done.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is what I find fascinating with the work with the chemtrails, but also a lot of other stuff to do with the attachment with children, etc. that I work with. People aren't looking at normal anymore. People aren't looking what it should be. So when you do get these days where there's nothing, when there's no chemtrailing, and yet you can get your apps and you can still see that there's jets going over, for Holly's jets, etc. But there's no chemtrailing going on, and that was what was fascinating me. You could understand it with Christmas Day. You could understand there being no chemtrailing Christmas Day because you think there's probably less flights, commercial flights, etc. But over the 2-week period, there's a normal amount of commercial flights going on. So in my mind, this mainly is military. And when you look up on the apps that you get to find out what planes are flying over, it tends to be the ones that are not coming up as anything, that are the ones that are leaving these massive trails. Not all the time, but the majority of the time. And I do think filming the clear days is really important. Yeah, sorry, go on.
You know, it would be a great piece of equipment to film these, and Hans, if you want to put a picture of it for your audience, it's called a Star Shoot All Sky camera. It is a little expensive. It's like $900, but it's specifically designed to videotape the sky. You know, UFO hunters use it, but you could use it for definitely you know, researching and filming the chem operations happening. And it's a DVR, so you can hook more than one up. But one, just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay. Yeah, I got your link. I will also post it here in the chat box so other people can see it too. And I open here the website. Okay. Excellent.
Right, thank you guys. I'm off then. See you later.
Okay, thank you too, and thanks so much for taking your time to be there.
Sarah, before you leave. Oh, she's gone.
Oh, yeah.
I got a question for Billy Hayes here. During your time as an electrical technician in these high-tech operations, have you ever encountered the use of black tourmaline as some type of insulator?
Yeah. There was a period of time, what's the name of it, when bakelite was not available throughout the military systems, and all of a sudden you saw this insulator pop up. And it created some problems because it had a weird resonance to it. It effectively started goofing up radar.
Well, in crystal lore, they say black tourmaline repels negative energy or negative vibrations, so it could have fucking put a cog in the wheel of some nefarious operations, possibly.
Exactly. That's one of the things I've warned about. When you're playing with crystals, you have no idea what you're playing with. Spiritually speaking, there's one thing, but electronically speaking, you could really be messing something up. Even your way of thinking.
Yeah, of course, they always remind people to remain grounded at all times, because if you have too much information, it might put you in the wrong place.
Okay, people, I got to run. I have a bathroom that's chasing me around the house.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy, for everything you've done for us today. You're a phenomenal source of information. You're gold to this movement, and I thank you for everything that you've sacrificed to bring awareness for our globe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
I wish
much.
I could maintain my train of thoughts to keep everything together, but like I tried to express, due to my conditions, it's pretty hard for me to bear on one subject without jumping all over the place. My mind doesn't work properly anymore.
Billy,
Yeah.
one last message from Joe here. Honestly, if you can do it, or if you're interested, either you source it yourself or I'd supply it. Get yourself a natural light or scolecite crystal. It really helps with the neurons. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I've used it to help heal a vicious beating concussion. This is not no Illuminati attack. It's more of a drunken man at McDonald's, but it's okay. And I swear to God, it's helped fucking, excuse my language, recuperate from trauma to the head. It also helps various of those neurological ailments, I believe. So scolecite, natural light, I'll supply it, or if you'd like to find it yourself, that's great too.
Well, thank you, Joe, but no thank you. I have tried so many things that it's emphatic that I point out that when you try something, you have no idea what you're getting ready to do. I'll give you an example. I was told that borax, a drop of borax in the water daily, in a glass of water, would help cleanse my system out and flush out all my Morgellons. What I didn't realize was the medications that I was taking would have a reaction with the borax. Something so simple killed me.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Let me jump in on that. When I mention these crystals, I do not mean for ingestion. I mean literally just to hold them in your hand. And that's the effect, is all I've needed for healing. I believe in that the left hand. It sounds ridiculous, but you know what, if you made it this far, please heed these words of advice, even if it costs you $50. If not, I'll refund you the amount if you discount it. I swear to God, natural light or scolecite is very helpful for these types of conditions. And I truly believe in it. And I'm sorry that I couldn't share that with many of my own family members who would reject this type of alternative ideal for treatment for any issues related to focus and attention. I swear, I honestly vouch for that.
Okay, well, let me make the statement again. I suffer with cysts and tumors that are resonant to certain frequencies and pulses. Bear the ideal. Some of these crystals will give off and resonate with local frequencies to those same frequencies. I have to take care and take heed not to come within certain magnetic fields and certain crystals. I have no idea which ones are doing it. I do know there is a reaction with HAARP frequencies and crystals. I have to stay away from some things. There is no research ever done on it. I can tell you that Morgellons has an effect with crystals also. Each person that has active Morgellons, all people have Morgellons, but there is active Morgellons. And active Morgellons is that Morgellons that has a crystal pod at the base of synthetic fibers. And you will find that when you are within certain RF fields, that these Morgellons, the seeable Morgellons that are on top of your skin, you can take a magnifying glass in the middle of the dark and pass a cell phone over top of your area of infection. And if you have active Morgellons, you will see tiny, tiny, tiny little red dots glow. That suggests that they are reactive to certain frequencies or certain pulses. Remember,
Well, it sounds like
these crystals that are in Morgellons are like synthetic rubies. And synthetic rubies are what was the basis of the first lasers, ruby lasers that were devised back in the early 50s. That should give you a hint.
Very interesting. You know, most of this information is beyond most of us average people, but of course it is very beneficial to the greater understanding. It's kind of unfortunate that we have to worry about these types of things when we could focus on more enlightening issues. But of course, I'm glad everyone's here today. I don't know if anyone else has any other pressing information. I thought I shared a lot of the stuff that I tried to personally share, but if anyone else wants to move forward, I don't know if Max Bliss has been connected. That'd be great if he could step forward, but I'm sure he's on another time schedule and another time zone, so I'll leave it open to everyone else here now.
There have been many times we've been up on towers that we found little strings of fibers hanging off from antennas and off the tower. They were not spider webs. In fact, they were finer. They were so fine that you unless the light hit them, you couldn't see them. And they were as tough as fishing line. They were as tough and strong as a piece of fishing line. Yet when those transmitters came on, these things would curl up and ball up and turn into just a tiny, tiny speck. You'll see these things in clusters lined up against a fence, and they just make a big fuzzball. These things are unnatural, and they're being seen all over the world. They were seen in Iraq, they were seen in Afghanistan, they were seen in Africa. Pillaged up against fences, balling up, and then the wind would catch them and just blow them away.
What is
we saw that?
Go ahead.
We saw that here in Ottawa this summer, and I honestly was like, felt like I was in some strange fucking Twilight Zone movie where there was literally these fuzzy, larger, like bigger than anything from a dandelion, almost big enough to be like a leaf out of a duvet. It was these white fuzzies, and you could see them up for miles when you looked with the polarized sunglasses towards the sun. You could see them up for miles, and it was not any type of animal secretion or desecration or whatever. It was some type of floating particulate that was ridiculously large and appearing to look normal, but to the intelligent eye, you can clearly tell there's nothing normal about it.
I would like to add something, because this is going to take a few of us, and it's gonna take a little bit of money, and I don't care where you guys go to get it. I'm fortunate that I have a friend in my family, a family friend, who has been developing a drone, a small drone that can go travel out 6 miles. I understand there's some legalization about sending it 6 miles up. This drone also has capacity to go underwater. It's the first and the only waterproof drone we have available right now. But for it's under because I have access to this equipment, I can get it done for free in my area. Wow. I want to encourage people all around the globe to connect with the guys who do this flying small remote control airplanes, because they're the same guys who are going to be flying these drones. And if we as the people, as the masses, have any chance of actually testing what is in these aerosols, we need to send the drones up. I don't know what we have to attach to these drones to be able to capture a sample of this crap in the air, but I think if a bunch of us can do this around the globe, if we can all send it up, get a sample. I don't even know where the lab is, how to connect it, but I just know that in my area, if no one's paying attention, I have the ability to get a drone to go 6 miles up, gather a sample, and come back down. I want other people around the globe to do the same thing. I'm challenging you guys right here who can do it. I'm sorry, the gentleman that's living underground in Kansas. I forgot your name. Billy. I understand you might not be able to do it. Frankie and John, you guys are young, and I'm an old lady, and this old lady is putting you boys to the test. I'm challenging you guys. Please hook up with your friends. Talk to the people you can talk to.
Kim.
Yes.
Let me put the rest right now. I've already been there. I already done it.
Okay.
FAA locked me down. If I am seen flying around an airport or above 1,000 feet, I will be ticketed for it, and the ticket will be $100,000.
Well, if you can't do it because you've already received that ticket, then isn't there 100 of us who haven't received that warning that could get away with it?
Take my word. There are so many of these RCs in the air right now that they are being monitored. They are being monitored. You cannot move one without the other one seeing it anymore.
Okay. Thank you, Billy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we live in a world where everything's being watched.
Yeah.
Everything's being watched. These new little gizmos up there flying around have got capabilities that are just beyond whatever you can think. Foreign countries are, you can go look them up. They're, in fact, if you go on my Facebook, you'll see one there that I put up the other day. A rock fell down hillside in Italy, right next to a 400-foot tower. What in the heck's a 400-foot tower going at the bottom of a hill?
Yeah.
When it should be on top of a hill. Secondly, they were making the film utilizing one of these RCs, and it gave fantastic pictures. Darn, I wish. Let me cut loose here for a minute, okay? Go ahead and talk.
Take the break you need, Billy. Take the break. Just go take the break.
Not much. Just want to thank everybody. Thanks again for being here. You know, we all do our little efforts. It seems like sometimes it's tiring, but of course, there's many tireless individuals out there, so we will get some progress.
Yep.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Hans?
Yeah.
I can before we break apart, can we can we set up a date now for our next event like this? And then I have one more question. I've been looking to everybody for answers, and maybe Billy will be able to answer us when he comes back.
Okay.
But my question is about who is the person who determines the date for the global awareness events pertaining to geoengineering? And how do we take the activists like ourselves and get everybody onto the same page so that, because we had a global awareness march here in the United States in August, and there were participation from other countries. Then another global awareness event came forward for January 25th, and I only got about 2 weeks notice on that. And I guess I'm so cynical or skeptic that I thought maybe that one was a disinformation operation, because it seemed to, you know, these events need to be planned, and they need a lot of planning. They need press kits, they need press releases, they need radio shows, they need, you know, lots of YouTube videos and independent promotions. So who's the hub for that? How do we all get on the same page for effective planning?
It's a good question. I mean, we have to be, like you said, very carefully, because many of the events are also setups from the government, you know, that they can control and see who is going there, whatever.
Yes! Do you think that we can come together again in about 2 weeks to discuss?
Yeah.
Like after a meeting like this, we have lots of thoughts, and we say, I wish I would have said, and then we can take notes on that stuff, or we say, I wish I would have shared this, or I wish I would have asked this question. If we could have maybe another follow-up in 2 weeks to come back together again and do what we did here today, but not necessarily covering all the same material, but to focus more on the solution part of this and how to be effective in organizing for our awareness marches, things of that order. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Because I know that Dane Wigington said that he would be happy to come back in as long as I could give him a little more notice to schedule that date for us. So I just need to give him a date in advance. What do you think of the date for February 22nd? I think the time that we used this morning was good too. If we can go with 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
No problem for me. I'm 24 hours there for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go with 8 a.m. February 22nd.
Okay.
Pacific Standard Time.
Okay. It's on the record here. That's so
okay,
the people who see that
I'll
video,
see you on
they
Facebook.
know. Okay, see you. So thanks,
Right.
and also thanks to the public that you had the time, and see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye bye.